Welcome to Latino Free Minds. I am your host, Gio. This week, I am coming to you live with a special guest. Very excited to have everybody tuning in again today. Um, just waiting a moment for Instagram to start up, and there it is. So, again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Today, we have a special guest, a gentleman that I met at an event. Um, and I heard a lot of things about this gentleman, and all good things. He's a hard worker. He's a veteran, and when I met him, um, I felt like we hit it off pretty good, really good actually. And then I went to a luncheon where he was speaking at, and I was really impressed because I started to learn about what this gentleman does. And he works out in the Grassroots. And when he was talking to the group, I started to realize I don't do a very good job of talking to people one on one. And I picked up some tips from this gentleman that I'm about to invite on, and hopefully he can share a little bit of that, but really share with us what he's doing out here in California, because I think he's making a huge difference working with a lot of candidates out here. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome James Miser.
I appreciate it.
James,
Thanks
how you
for
doing?
thanks thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. Um, you know, there's very few times where there's a guest that I really like, that I want to invite on, and he wants to come on. It's like without even having to convince somebody. Aside from candidates, candidates are always like,
Of
"Yeah, I
course,
want to get out there,"
of course.
but to just have a regular guest, um, I appreciate you taking this opportunity to join me. Um, so to get started, I introduced that you were working in Grassroots. Um, I would love if you can share with everybody some of the things that you do, because just saying that kind of just, I think people just think that and they think you're just going and knocking door to door, like
It sounds
you're.
like a buzzword. It's definitely a buzzword. It's one of those. It's one of those words like synergy and testing alignment. That kind of. It's the political version of corporate speak. Like it's one of those words that everybody uses, but they don't know what it means, and they don't know exactly how it applies. In this particular case, the best way to explain grassroots is that where is the reason why the name makes sense is because a lot of political organizing is done top down. It's done from the candidate or the campaign level, but you can't really develop a whole bunch of develop a whole bunch of energy and really do a whole lot of get out the vote stuff from the top down. You can't avoid grassroots. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of different avenues that you could take to get involved. But all grassroots is focusing on the regular individual. Everybody's going to be watching or listening to this for some reason, typically because somebody told them about it, or because they were interested, or because they have some sense of they have some sense within themselves that they want to become active. Some things they've either had the passion or they've recently found the passion, and it's a question of how do you take that passion that your typical individual has and then actually plug them in such a way where they can make a positive difference. So the biggest thing about grassroots is just that it's focusing on the individual person that you're going to be working with in order to actually kind of build a movement around. And one of the other really nice parts about it is that what it one of the things that every campaign hates is fundraising, and nobody ever has enough money. So, like, if you want to talk about actually stretching your resources, grassroots is really important to being able to actually stretch your resources as far as possible. That's the general sense of it of what grassroots is. What I typically do is I have professional experience over multiple years in every aspect of grassroots, from the phone banking, the canvassing, the market research, the event planning, even some of the fundraising. I've had to do some fundraising too. It's my least favorite thing to do, but hey, you can do it. These are the different ways that we can actually reach out to people, and these are the different ways that we can actually reach out to people and have a positive impact in our communities. And I think the second time we met, you were sitting in a class on basic grassroots. Like, if you yes, I try not to tell anybody which campaigns to work with, or where their ethics are, but if they're trying to get involved, I just want to help them be more effective at getting involved. And most people are not as effective as they could be. So my goal is to help educate them and train them and work with them so that they can be a lot more effective than they would be otherwise.
When I think of grassroots, I automatically go to campaigns, campaigning
Mhm.
for um, uh, political candidates, um, and unfortunately, there's a lot of candidates out there that have struggled to get their message across. You are the messenger, right?
Yeah.
You're the one that knows how to get that message across. You go to the candidate, you find out what they're all about, if they're worth somebody fight to if they're worth fighting for. And if they are, you go push that message out. Do you work with them also to say like are you straight up with candidates like you're really bad at this. Here's what you need to go out and do.
Well, there's a way to say it, but the look, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. If a candidate is smart, and every opportunity that I have a conversation in professional capacity, everybody that I actually speak with is an opportunity to test your message, see what works and what doesn't work. Because everybody likes to talk about getting out of their comfort zone. They really do, and they say it all the time. But the biggest comfort, in my experience, the biggest comfort zone in the world is inside your own head. You got your own echo chamber of your friends. You got all the stuff that you were being focusing on, and like nitpicking and everything else. And you can get it so worked that you love it, but then it just doesn't land when you take it out to the field. So. Uh, Actually having the ability to give a little bit of feedback on that, like, hey, this was great, this was not great. One of the things that I do, whether the candidate asks me to or not, and typically they're smart enough to listen. With rare exceptions, they're smart enough to listen. Like, hey, this is working out in the field. This is people are responding to this. People are not responding to this. We might want to emphasize it more this way than the other way, and a lot of it just comes down to positioning. You're not going to take a candidate and put them in a position where they can't they can't actually be their authentic selves, or you can't tell a candidate that they have to care more about one issue than another issue. You can't really do it, but you can help them communicate a little bit better, or in a little better way, with a vast majority of people. Because if you think about it, candidates come from the same places that all the rest of us come from. Like, there's no farm out in the Midwest that grows candidates.
Yeah,
Like, no, there's nothing like that. Uh, Candidates are just normal people just like us, and they're clients just like any other consultant or service provider has to deal with. And they they come from where they come from, and so, but they also have to, there's going to be gaps. They're going to be comfortable typically talking to people like them, and they may be more or less comfortable talking to people that aren't like them. And it can be very difficult for a lot of candidates who believed passionately enough that they had to be the one to actually get into office, for them to appreciate a different perspective or a different way of thinking. And the reason why that's necessary is because it's the way to build a bridge. And one of the big takeaways I hope you took from my training is that it's not about what you're trying to say. It's not about the message you're trying to say. It's about the message that the other person hears. It really is. So, like, I could give you 70 different reasons to vote for any candidate that I work with, but you only have the time and the attention span for two. So
that's true.
yeah. So how do we find out exactly which two arguments you want to hear? Well,
Yeah.
it's a-
No, that's I love that point because I'd like to consider myself somebody who's very well informed with, at least let's just go with state candidates like a Steve Hilton as an example. I happen to know a lot of the things that Steve is running on, but the things that
Mhm.
resonate with me most are the taxes. So
Yeah,
when some what I remember the most about Steve Hilton is if Steve Hilton wins up to $150,000, I'm not going to get taxed. So
exactly.
I can work my butt off, make some good money, and I know that my family's going to be better off. We put out a video today where Jaden was saying that he did a breakdown on the tax brackets, and
Mhm.
basically, for somebody that makes up to $150,000, that's like a vacation in the year.
Yeah,
And
it
I was
is.
like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I want to be able to take my family on a vacation. Um, for somebody that maybe works in hospitality, like in a restaurant, serving, making tips, that's even better because at a federal level, no tax on tips. So like you're awesome. You're doing great.
Well,
So those
let's address one other very specific point there. We have automatic withholding. So no tax on anybody over 150,000 means it's not getting taken out of your check to begin with. Or like there's that argument. Or you're just getting it's a forced savings plan, you're getting that money back. But there's actually different ways on your taxes that you can be like, hey, look, dude, I have never once in my life earned more than $150,000. How about you just like not automatically withhold on these specific things? Yeah,
yeah,
no, that would make a significantly bigger deal. He's got a couple other good
exactly.
programs too, but that's one of his bigger things.
Well, the $3 gas is also a nice one. It's just I have a Tesla, so but I also have a gas vehicle too. I just don't see that as often because it's my family vehicle when we go out of town. Um,
That's not even where the $3 gas counts. And let me fall back into some of my previous experience here. I still got my Class A driver's license. Like I would in the Marine Corps, I was motor transport. Like everything runs on gas. So okay, cool. You may drive a Tesla, but your food's delivered by truck.
it
like,
is.
like
Absolutely is.
so, and
Uh,
that's the kind of thing there where those energy costs like literally inflate everything else that you ever pay for. And by the way, once those prices are inflated, nickel and diming you on every product at the grocery store. Once those prices are inflated, guess what? The sales tax is based on the price after it's inflated. So that's one more way that they're actually taking it out of you. And by the way, the only things that we actually need to be doing to lower this, you mean to tell me that we can actually just go ahead and start our production we can start energy production in California again? Why haven't we been doing that? Did you know that California compliant gas, one of the major reasons why we actually our stuff is the most expensive in the entire country, and whatever exogenous factors play into raising gas all over the country, we're still the most expensive. Our blends are so stupid, and the fact that they're so particular legally, it has to be so legally particular. We're the only state in the union that does this, and we don't like refining within our own state. So guess where we're getting it from? We are shipping California blends from the Bahamas on an oil tanker in the name of saving the environment. We're choosing the least environmentally friendly way to do it, and we're paying more for the privilege. No, here's the thing. A lot of the people that I'm talking to are it's the Democrats have been running this state for a very long time, and just on the basis of what are you going to do, vote Republican, and that can be a convincing argument in some cases for some people. But at a certain point, like the argument does become what do you got to lose? Quite a bit actually. Like no one's holding anyone else accountable, so it is what it is.
did,
The
did did you guys notice that?
What's
Th-
that?
th- this is exactly what I was talking about with James.
Mhm.
What he just did right there. He just sold us all on taxes, right? Not paying taxes. He just sold us all on the ideas of the people that we are out campaigning for.
Mhm.
So that's the grassroots thing.
Oh yeah,
It's
don't
it's
even get me
it's the
started on
messaging.
housing. Don't even get me
It's a
started on housing.
I was
Yeah.
I went to the luncheon. I was just trying to enjoy my lunch, and I couldn't eat because I'm just listening James,
Sorry
go
to ruin your
on.
day.
Sorry to ruin your lunch. Sorry to make your pancakes go cold.
Yeah.
No, you're really good at that. Yeah, and you had made you had made a comment, and I hope I'm not giving away the secrets here. But you had made a comment that when you're out there doing like the door to door type thing, it's almost like or not, excuse me, not when you're out there, when you're online and you're doing the back and forth with people, it's kinda like practice for when you're out there with
Yes.
real people, making that real connection,
Yes.
and I was like,
Now,
"Dang, no wonder he's so good because these are all the arguments." Like,
mhm,
this is what I would go back and forth with people online for because we went really hard for Chad Bianco, like, we
mhm.
and online, there's just so much traffic about, "Oh, what about this? What about that?" So you go out and you start to research it, and you have all your points, so when somebody brings it up in person, you're like, "Oh, I
Yeah,
heard that's
it's
where you're
not
wrong."
it's not quite necessarily just the boot camp, but it's also you have to practice having these conversations. Now, that's not to say that every conversation online, that first of all, the caveat you got to give for online is that that's not where real life is. Real life is what
That's a
happens
good
offline,
point.
not what's online. But if you find an opportunity, you do find those opportunities where you're having these kinds of conversations, and when you can actually have, where you can actually have, spirited and respectful conversations. Like you can dismiss the crazy people for the most part, but no, when you actually get to a difference in values or a difference in fact or a legitimate disagreement, then by all means, this is an opportunity for you to practice these conversations. One of the things, one of my roles is that about Grassroots is that all you're doing is talking to people. And how many people that are going to be watching this today have ever had one of those experiences where it's just like you walk away after an interaction, you're like, man, I should have said this. Man, I should have said this. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, everyone, even me, all the time. But uh, forcing yourself to practice in writing because writing functionally it works functionally differently in your brain and constructing a logical and coherent argument doing if you're doing it intentionally on the right conversations with the right people, then you can bring your resources, you're practicing these conversations, and you're practicing having it in such a way where you're being maximally persuasive. Again, go outside, touch grass. Like online is not where life happens, but that is actually an opportunity for you to practice the conversations you're going to have in your everyday life and kind of see where some different perspectives might be. Now, one thing, if you're going to touch on social media, we need to touch on the fact that most people use social media incorrectly,
right,
like super incorrectly. And frankly, it's a question of scrolling and being lazy about it. The four things you have to do if you want to have any leverage or impact, you got to. And I'm going to use Facebook as an example because it's my biggest one. I know typically any other social media platform has, all of their algorithms are based on engagement. But if you can like, you can comment. If you can comment, you can share. If you can share, you can ask others to share too. You can take there's actually something you can do on Facebook and you can get access to your own analytics. You can see how many people have seen every single post that you put out there. You can see, and it's not just how many shares. You can actually, when I'm talking about analytics, I'm not talking about like scrolling down and finding out how many people shared it, although that's the easiest. That's one kind of analytics that's extremely helpful. But like, how many views did it get? That's how you know if the algorithm is like stopping you, or if or you can custom tune your message to get a little bit more leverage out there,
right,
that kind of thing. But use your analytics. But if you're going to like, then comment. If you're going to comment, then share. If you're going to share, then ask others to share too. And by the way,
exactly,
the comment, there's certain parts of the algorithm, different algorithms that are looking for keywords in the comment, but generally speaking, you can put your favorite tuna salad recipe in there and nobody cares. Nobody really cares. Don't be the person who's writing the great American novel on a Yelp review, but like you can like just say something. Say something. And that's a more effective if you want to actually leverage your time. If you're not just scrolling through there to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I agree with that. If you want to actually help other people see that argument, that message that you found persuasive enough that it tickled your fancy, then do those four things. And
Yeah.
and if you're not doing that on social media, you're just not using it correctly.
No, I agree with you. Um, it's one of the things that as some like an I I don't like to call myself an influencer, but the reality is I kind of am an influencer. For me, it's great when somebody likes and shares my content. Personally, I don't really care if you do, but there are other people because I know what the effort that goes into this. There's other people out there like I'll just use Ramin as an example because he's super popular right now. Where
Sure.
I will come across one of his videos, 99% of the time, I love his video. So I will like it, I will comment on it, I will share it. I'll send it to
Yeah.
my mom, I will send it to my best friend. I will go on TikTok and reshare it. I will go on Instagram, put a
You'll go
like
on
on it.
TikTok and share it with the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, exactly.
let, let the
If they
Chi
don't see
Coms
it,
know what's up.
if they don't see it, then it's not real.
Don't even get me started on TikTok. Like, yeah, no, yeah, I get it. Yeah, and sharing cross-platform is also another really great way to a really great way to hack your engagement too, and not just like sharing from Facebook to Instagram, but like you said, from Facebook to Snapchat to like evidently Reels and YouTube Shorts are actually really big too. One of the really cool things that you can do as an influencer now is you can take a conversation like we have that we're doing now. Look at it this way, and this is going to sound terrible, but imagine that we're going hunting and we got a 10 and we're Betsy's getting up there in age and we're a cattle farm and we just want to go ahead and have enough food for the rest of the year. Well, yeah, we can think about the conversations that we're having as a whole animal, like putting the whole cow in the freezer. We don't need to cut it up. We'll just let everybody appreciate the whole cow and just take whatever little bits of it that they need to do. Or you can process it like it's the whole cow. You can cut it up into different pieces and different sections, and with the specific intention of how you're going to use it later. So
Yeah,
sometimes you're going to be thinking about, okay, well, for this, I'm going to want a 15-second thing because Snapchat, or I'm going to want a 30-second reel because it's easier to share on YouTube or Facebook, or maybe I'm going to want to do this. So being a little bit more being a little bit more savvy when you're actually producing this kind of content, the whole animal. Pauses between questions help. Typically, short answers and then a pause and then a further explanation helps. There's different things that you can do that to make your content more easily. I want to say manipulated, but it's like it's you know what I mean by that.
yeah,
I don't want the connotation, but to be able to reuse your work, and then you can just do it on a staggered rollout. And one of the things I actually really like is that these questions haven't gone away. I'll tell you.
yeah.
I'll talk to you about a race right now. Kyle Kirkland is running against Jim Costa in California, CA 21,
Right
and
here in my
Jim Costa.
backyard.
Yep, and CA 21 is unfortunately Jim Costa is now my congressman, but Jim Costa's been in Congress since about 2004, or some such, and he's been in politics since 1976. So it's not that he's necessarily a bad guy, because we're a farming culture down here. If what you're trying to do is bring more water back, well, since 2004, that's been Democrat presidents and Republican presidents, Democrat controlled House and Republican controlled House.
Right.
You've had every iteration. If you've been at this for 22 years, why is this even still a conversation? Why is this still a conversation? So there was actually something Jim Costa actually put out. Jim Costa put out and talking about how he's still fighting to bring water back to the valleys. Like, really? You need how many more years you need, dude? like, like, how much more time? Like, how much more time do you actually need for this? Like, if your peers If dude, he's the longest serving member, the longest serving member on the agriculture committee.
Holy moly.
His own party did not make him the ranking member. They gave that to a three-term lady out of Minnesota or Wisconsin. What do they farm there? Like, don't get me wrong, they got great cheese curds, like phenomenal cheese curds. Like they got beef snack stick products you could only ever dream about. What are what are we farming there? Why did his own party elect to put a three-term Congress lady over him on a committee that he's been on for 22 years? That's how
Yeah.
ineffective this guy has been. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because the reason I bring this up is because if a lot of people don't think that their vote matters, and a lot of times that the only thing a lot of these politicians are good at is getting reelected. You know, you call up their constituent services, they'll have an art program, or they'll show up for a ribbon cutting. They'll put their stuff out there. They'll put posters of them in the community all the time.
Yeah.
But what are they actually doing to solve problems? And I got another great example about that right now, but I'm not trying to go off on more tangents than I've already been off on. Just for now.
Bring
Um,
it, brother. Bring hey, this is what
mhm,
people want to know what's happening here in California.
sure,
We have audience. We do have audiences outside of California because we started
sure.
talking about national topics. But the
Mhm,
last year we have focused on California, and what a lot of people are appreciating right now is that we are calling it out, right?
mhm.
For the longest time, you know, you can watch a Fox News, you can watch a PBD, but there's a lack of what is happening right here in our backyard when you consider the fact that California has been losing the battle since 2012, since the jungle primary. We have been losing 60-40 in every election. So people want to know, what are we actually doing to combat that? So when you say we have a tangent, you know, I have a tangent that we might not want to go into. No, brother, they want to know. They
Okay,
want to know exactly what you're doing to bring that 20-point difference down to zero or a negative.
I'm
Like we want to
actually
win.
okay. Hey, let me give you. And God, I hate quoting Stalin. It's not who votes that counts; it's who counts the votes. So there's a lot of stuff that's being done, and there's a lot of stuff that's being done in terms of election integrity. However, I also, by the way, hate quoting Donald Trump. And you know, you sometimes you got to make it too big to rig. So what it comes down to is voter mobilization. I don't care how many people have registered Democrat if they're not showing up and voting Democrat. There's a difference here. The difference between being a high propensity voter and a low propensity voter is how many of the last five elections that you've actually voted in. The last five opportunities you've had to get off your couch or to stick something in the mailbox. How many times have you actually taken that opportunity? If
Yeah.
it's been less than three times, you're a low propensity voter. Now, here's one of the problems that we have in grassroots organizing. The way that a lot of it's controlled by the parties, and they like to. The job of a political party is to identify and then mobilize their supporters. That's it. That's it. They want to identify and mobilize their supporters in order to get their candidates elected. The most people with their letter next to their name as possible. That's what their goal is. That's the only reason they're there. All the other stuff is nice, but that's not their it's not their deontological reason for existence. One of the things that sucks about that when you're talking is that that requires a higher level of targeting. Now, there has never been a single campaign that I've worked on where I have had my own door to knock on. And the reason why not is because I'm a high propensity voter. I vote in absolutely every single election. But if your address changes or your voter party changes, your voter party preference changes, then it becomes a situation where like they don't even see you. Now, how many people do you have that are under the age of 24? Probably a couple of them. Hell, if you're under 22, so you don't actually have your bachelor's degree yet, you haven't been around for five elections. And by the way, if you're under 25 or 26, how many you probably had to change your address at least once in that time frame, which means they don't view you as a high propensity voter
Yeah.
because the place that they actually get that information is from county voter rolls. So unless you've been using your parents' address for 10 years and you've been registered as the same party for 10 years and voting from that address for 10 years, then they're not even going to see you. So what you have to do is you actually have to get out there, you have to get involved, and you have to get engaged. One of the things, what there's, let me give you some good news. Let me give you some great news. Actually, I'm really excited about this. Okay, check this out. One of the packs that I'm working with right now is called Golden State Revival. We're specifically targeting low propensity. We're specifically targeting low propensity Republicans, and we're doing it from a faith based approach because it's all call to service, it's all good stewardship, it's all live your values. Okay. Yes, I understand that the establishment clause in the First Amendment says that the government, and you hear this from everybody who's doesn't understand what this actually means. They're just like they're just like, well, there shall forever be a wall between church and state. Yeah, okay. That means that the government can't establish a religion. You know what comes right after that? Free exercise and the right to petition your government for redress of grievances. Same amendment, you're just reading a different part. Now, the free exercise means you get to live your values out there. Okay. And your values, if they are sincere core values, you are going to bring those into the ballot box too. So the
Yeah.
question becomes we're not doing the Christian version of we're not voting in Sharia law or apostolic rule, but your values do need to be heard, and you do actually get to do it because, again, within First Amendment is the right to petition government for redress of grievances. Lots of different ways to do that. So some really cool parts about the get out the vote on this side. I really like what Carl DeMaio is doing with Reform California, and let me tell you what it is. Um, what they're doing. I like using different slates. And because all politics is local, and because there's three different ways to vote in the state of California. There are two counties, if I remember correctly, that are mail-in ballot only. You can't even show up. Like you can't. There's no place to vote in person. It's just all mail-in ballot. You have other ones that are all you have to show up or you have to be like a confirmed registered mail-in ballot person. Like Tulare
Yeah.
County is a good example of this. They vote on election day, and it's got a couple more days before that, but it's based around election day. Then you have my county, Fresno County, which was a signatory to the Voting Preference Act or whatever it was called. I forgot what it was that passed in like the early 2020s. And they went away from polling places. We don't even use precincts anymore. We have voting centers. And that's a whole separate mechanism that, by the way, I almost got disenfranchised twice because of that one. Because it's not like they told everybody. It's not like everybody doesn't have to do their normal stuff, but you got to know where to vote. You got to have your voting plan. So when somebody's talking to you about having a voting plan, what they're talking about is what days can I vote and where do I have to go to do it? So one of the cool things that Carl DeMaio is doing is that Reform California is providing a ballot guide for the propositions. Now, when I'm talking to people, a lot of the times the reason why they haven't sent in their mail-in ballot, if that's the way that they're going to do it, is that they're actually doing their due diligence. They want to be responsible voters. They want to actually understand what's actually on the ballot. Nobody wants to regret their vote. Everyone has, at least at one point in time, but they don't want it to be for and especially with a lot of conservatives, by the way, like no, they want to understand what they're voting on, what box they're being asked to check off. So what Carl DeMaio is doing with his voter guide for the propositions is he's making a quick thumbs up or thumbs down on every proposition that's on the statewide ballot, and then he's mailing that out to specific low propensity voters to get them to go ahead and do that because a lot of what discourages people from voting, a lot of what discourages people from voting is like the headline stuff, like the national stuff or the state stuff. If I'm talking to a Republican in the state and they're telling me it's not even going to do any good because we're only 40% of the people out there. Well,
Yeah.
your property taxes are still on the ballot. I guarantee you have some bond or funding measures that are going to be on the ballot. I guarantee that you're going to have council members that are going to be on the ballot or somebody else that's going to make a legitimate decision on a municipal level that are going to be in there. Hell, your school board members are going to be on the ballot. So every time you do actually see something in the newspaper about something that's happening within your school district, guess what? You have the opportunity to say something about that. When I'm doing get out the vote, I tend to emphasize local stuff more than I emphasize higher level stuff, because if you were motivated by the higher level stuff, you wouldn't be low propensity and I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd
You
be
know,
less likely to be talking to you.
that's such a good point. I mentioned earlier, we were huge advocates for getting out to vote for Chad Bianco.
Hmm.
Um, after after the primary, we had a lot of people reach out like, "I'm just not even gonna vote." And we started, uh, the co-host, Latino Free Minds, all of our members, we all talked and we're like, "Dude, this is not what we wanted." We did not wanna discourage people from voting.
Hmm.
Even if our guy loses, there's so many important things that are gonna be on the general election. We
Hmm.
have, I mean, we have congressmen, we have, assemblymen, we have school board members, we have, um, all the propositions. We have mayors um, down in Southern California, they have Leticia Castillo.
Hmm.
Up here in the Merced area, we have Murphy running for assembly. Down
Yep.
in the Bakersfield to Fresno area, we have Guillermo that's running.
Oh, and by the way, if you're up in that area too, don't sleep on Darren DuPont. Don't sleep on Darren
Darren
DuPont.
DuPont has been on Latino Free Minds.
Uh-huh.
Huge fighter. Don't let the baby face fool you. Um,
Don't let the bow tie fool you.
the bow tie. I couldn't see past the bow tie.
Like, come on, man. Like, I called him on that too. I was like, "What's that about?" He's like, "No, it's
But
just it's a personal thing." I was like, "All right."
that's fine. I prefer a tie, but it is what it is. Um, uh, you know, there's like E even, mayors, mayor of Apple Valley, think about it. You have to make sure that we remember that it's not just the one seat that we put our whole heart into. We have to zoom out and go, "Wait a minute, if I don't vote, there's not g I'm not gonna be able to say yes or no, I'm 39. If I don't vote, maybe I don't maybe of the 2 candidates that are running for governor, because I was a Super Chad supporter, maybe one of the 2 candidates I really don't like because he lost half a million children, migrant children in the system.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started. He's like,
You know
I've already handled the budget that was bigger. Yeah, but you sucked at it. Like, like, wait, okay. So yes, you did have this responsibility before, but you were terrible at it. Everybody knew that you were terrible at it. That should be disqualifying.
Exact
You did not to. By the founding fathers, like, they wanted most government to be done at the local level, that which governs, your the most accountability you're ever going to have is at the local level. I'm working on a campaign right now where the last time the guy ran, for city council, he lost by 57 votes, and that's for city council. You already mentioned the name Guillermo Gonzalez. That's actually
Melissa
one of the
Hurtado.
races that we're working on. Yeah, dude's
She won by
lost
what,
by
12 votes?
12 votes. 12. 12.
Uh,
12. I
I
can't,
have I
12.
have, uh, 2 brothers, a sister, my mom can vote. That's already I mean, I just need a few more. I just need a few more. I can go to
Mhm.
work and find 3 people that don't vote. I
Yeah.
I drop my kids off at school. I can find 12 people easily that can go turn that vote. Well,
And by the
unfortunately,
way,
yeah,
the 12 votes, that's for a state level race. State
state
level.
level race. But we all
State
get mad at
level.
Scott Wiener up in the Bay Area with all his little assembly bills that he gets to put through. What do we do? Like, you want to make a difference? Well, get your friends together and go vote.
Well, and that's the other thing, by the way. A lot of the reasons why we get more, I think a lot of the reasons why we get more animated about the national and the state level races is it just covers more issues and the media's more focused on it. So you get to hear more about those things. But okay, great. So your candidate didn't win. My candidate didn't win. Both of us voted for Chad Bianco, but we're voting for the golden ticket. I'm assuming now. One thing, and I was actually talking to you about this a little bit beforehand. I get to talk to a lot of people, and so I know a lot of what some of the hesitations are about voting for Steve Hilton. And one of them is just, he seems like a firebrand, a little performative, but I can actually tell you from the back end, if you've been so busy just taking care of your earning your money and taking care of your family, I can actually tell you, like in the inside baseball, the smoke filled rooms in the back. No, Steve Hilton's been putting in solid work for the last 2.5 years to actually
Mhm.
build up other candidates and help build up a movement. He didn't just start, and by the way, he wasn't doing it for himself. He was going out there. He was finding opportunities where he could help literally anybody else to try to actually help make California better. So even if you don't, and I understand getting discouraged, I really do. And one of the challenges is like your election night's always bittersweet for me because some of
Yeah.
my candidates win, some of my candidates lose. Usually, if I worked on their campaign, they win. If, but some of my propositions, you put your heart and soul into this. That's the reason you were volunteering, and it doesn't always work out. But you know what the good news is? The good news is that you actually have more experience now. You have a better network now to be able to be more effective in the future.
Yeah.
One of the so there's going back to grassroots. Whatever your whatever your capabilities are. There's like I was just going over somebody with a Steve Hilton campaign. For volunteers, there's 5 things we look for, or there's 5 things that we need to know about. We need to know what your capabilities are, like what are you actually capable of doing, like what skill sets do you have. We need to know your availability because, like one of my, former attorney mentors once told me, the best ability is availability. Is hey, we're all busy, we got family, right? We got different and you know what? If I'm going to be a conscientious volunteer manager, if I'm going to be working with people on a grassroots level, I got to figure that out. I need to know your location because that becomes that centers where your impact is most likely to be, and the logistics that I need to be putting into place in order to support you.
Yep.
That's huge. Fourth question is going to be typically, do you have any leadership experience, management experience? Ever run a team before? And I'm not talking about a big team. I'm talking about 3 other people. Like, have you ever been responsible for anybody more than just yourself? And that's life changing. And lastly, do you have any other friends that you can bring in to do this? If you're if you look at yourself, if you give yourself a critical self evaluation for what you're going to be most capable of doing, then it's a lot easier for you to find the right opportunity. What I hate to see is somebody who just plugs in, they get shoehorned into an opportunity to do some grassroots volunteering, but it's not a time schedule that works for them. It's not in a method that works for them, and it just makes it that much harder to do. Whenever you're dealing with
Yeah.
volunteers, you're being conscientious about it. Like one of my rules is that the harder I make it for you to do what I'm asking you to do, the less likely you are to do it. One of the nice things that Carl DeMaio did, and go on to reform. I encourage anybody listening to this to go on to reformcalifornia.org or .com or whatever the Carl DeMaio
Totally.
website is.
Mhm.
They have a mailing campaign right now, and they're looking for volunteers in a couple of different ways. They are going to be knocking doors. They are asking for people to set up ballot parties. But one of the really cool things that they're doing right now is they have offices around the state. I think there's like 8 to 12 of them.
Yeah, they
One
do.
of them is one of them's here in Fresno. Get a tray of 500. All you're doing is you're writing the address and a couple of other different things on an envelope, folding it up the right way, and then turning it back in 500 at a time. 5 people just messing around can get a whole tray of 500 letters done in 2.5 to 3 hours, just BSing most of the time. So if you got a couple of like little old ladies that just want to have a nice little wine hangout, that'll do it. 10 ladies can get through 2 trays. That's a thousand people that they're being reached just because your penmanship was not so terrible that the post office knew where to send it. like
Yeah.
that, and that's literally the easiest thing, like the easiest thing, because old people can do it, high schoolers can do it, like everybody can do it. All you're doing is writing stuff down. Find these opportunities are out there, but going back to what you were saying about and the other brilliant thing that Carl DeMaio is doing with Reform California is he's doing it in 2 separate phases. They're prepping them the one way, and then they're going to add something else later to it in order to send it out in a timely enough manner so that it lands at the right time. But they're doing it this way and they're breaking up into different phases because that way they actually maximize their reach and their impact. I recommend anybody go to Reform California, find their local office to pick up a tray and read the instructions, pick up a tray, get a couple of buddies together, and actually you can have a significant impact that way with the least. You can do that at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not, or if you're up and you can't sleep, you can knock out a couple of those. It's, or if you're up at 5 o'clock and you're just and getting started, you got 3 hours before work because you're just an early riser for some reason because you're clearly not me. uh, like you just want a little bit of something else to do with your morning coffee. You can knock out 10 or 15 of those. It's fine. Like you can make a significant difference. You just have to find these opportunities. So
Yeah,
and go ahead.
eh, that's such a good point because, not everybody likes to do the knocking on doors.
Yep.
And for some people, taking a letter, putting it in the envelope correctly, sealing
Hmm.
it up, writing down an address, that's not difficult for them. For me, I
Hmm.
mean, uh I can't write to save my life.
Yeah.
So, I would
Yeah.
rather just get on the phone and call people, and I've done that for campaigns. I have volunteered and made phone calls. I don't mind doing that, I live a very busy life,
Hmm.
but if one of the things I try to do is, there's a candidate, Shane Lewis, that's running out of, the Fresno to San Jose
Hmm.
area.
Hmm.
One of the things I wanna do is to spend a couple hours just making phone calls for him. I don't
It's
mind
easy to do.
doing that.
Don't
Yeah,
even have to be in the district. You
yeah,
don't even have to be in the district. Yeah.
eh, yeah, he's just outside of my district, but it does affect me locally because it's just on the other side of town.
Hmm.
The other thing is he would be in the United States Congress, so that affects me because he's gonna be making decisions that affect my life. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people go, "Well, I really like that candidate, but he's not representing me."
Hmm.
Maybe not directly, but indirectly, yes. So,
Well, it's
consider
the
it.
I'm a big fan of role theory. You need the right person for the right job. If you've ever built a team or if you've ever been a part of a team, you know how critical. The nice part about working in a team is that everybody brings something different to it. Like we all have
Yep.
different skill sets and capabilities and attitudes. I hate phone banking. I loathe phone banking. Like it's but and you know what? Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy because I like canvassing, but I like canvassing because I get to play with dogs, and I get to meet some pretty cool people. Like I don't get to play with a puppy over the phone. Like I really don't. Like every method has its pros and its cons. There's goods and there's bads to all of it. Like obviously I can do all of it, but you're gonna have your preference and go out and figure out what it is. And one of the other nice parts, just because you brought up phone banking, is a lot of if you have a campaign that you like, you can reach out to them and be like, "Hey, do you guys have a call from home program? Do you have a phone banking things where like you can Votive, which is typically a software that a lot of campaigns use, they have phone banking functions. All you got to do is sign in, and you can make calls and like give voicemails and actually talk to people for whatever your campaign is. Now, as far as the congressional one goes, I had a really big reason to be working on the Kyle Kirkland campaign because run against Jim Costa because every single one of my disabled veteran benefits is under Title 38 of the U.S. Code. And guess who gets to play with that? Only Congress people. Only Congress, period, has an impact on that. So you
Yeah.
need a congressperson. I specifically need a congressperson that's going to watch, Title 38 like a hawk, and kind of advocate for us there. And it wasn't until I've been a disabled vet long enough, working with the VA long enough. Oh, geez, at this point, like about a decade and a half. I've been, disabled for a little bit longer than that, but for a decade and a half, I've been fighting this fight and advocating for my veterans. And yeah, like I was there before you had the Agent Orange was a presumptive condition for Vietnam vets. I was there before we actually had a lot of these positive changes, and where everybody was just getting denied or for the dumbest of reasons. Uh, it's this is the kind of thing where it makes a really big long term difference. Whoever, especially at the congressional level.
Yeah.
But it's not just at the congressional level. I'll give you an example of another campaign I'm working with. So we have, and specifically one that has to do with role theory, with picking the right person for the right job. If anybody's familiar with what's going on in Fresno County right now with our Measure C fight, we have had a bond measure called Measure C. It's like last 30 or 40 years, and it's like a 1.5% or whatever percent sales tax that goes towards funding roads and funding our transportation plans. Now it's coming up. It's going to expire like next year in June, I think. And for the last 2 years, they've been trying to go ahead and put together a replacement for Measure C. Now they've been doing it for the lots of different ways, um, lots and lots of different ways. They're doing it through the normal processes because everything in government takes way too long, and there's got to be environmental impact reports, and there's got to be everything else because California is going to California, and a lot of the plan. And I actually went over to a council of governments meeting, and one of the major things that when I was hearing proponents of the measure of the replacement, I think it's called like I forgot what it was. It's better roads, safer streets. When they're advocating for it, a lot of it has to do with getting away from liability. Because California, like a lot of the rules that they have are unfunded mandates. They do this for for affordable housing too. It's stupid as hell. They pass a rule in Sacramento and then they make the local governments pay for it. So in Fresno, in the Measure C replacement case, there was a kerfuffle. There was actually they got 32,000 signatures to get on the ballot. There was a competing initiative that did not get the signatures to get on the ballot, not because the interest wasn't there, but because the organization wasn't there. And this is a super big issue, but it's also bipartisan. Of the all of the mayors that are in council of government, so you have different representatives from the county of Fresno. You have the mayors from every city in Fresno. We're talking in Fresno County. We're talking like Modesto, Parlier, Reedley, Kingsburg, Fresno, Clovis, everywhere. Like they're all sitting there talking about it, and they're split. The majority is with the replacement, but there's three or four people that were just never on board with that. So at a recent meeting for the board of supervisors, a month and a half ago, they the board of supervisors in a 3-2 vote decided to send the Measure C replacement for a further review. Now, the reason why that was a big deal was because the review might potentially miss the filing deadline in order to get it on the ballot in November. And if it misses the ballot in November, there because of a recent change in the law, it goes from a difference of 50, like 50 plus a feather. A simple majority passes it. After if they the next time they try to run it, it needs a 2/3 majority. So like it's a much bigger hurdle in order to be
Yeah.
able to pass this. Now, all of the people that are working on this, that are really animated about this, that are really animated for proposing better road safer streets, they come by it honestly, they come by it sincerely. The fear is losing the money, and also if we don't have a ballot measure on there that's constructed in the appropriate way, we lose matching federal funds. So and it needs to be in there in an appropriate time frame. But there's also, because this is a product of government. There's a lot of payoffs. There's a lot of other different stuff. They want to spend a lot of they. The only way that they're actually going to be doing anything to reduce any kind of traffic is by adding bike lanes or funding public transportation, which sounds great if you're in the Fresno Clovis area. But what if you're in Sanger, or what if you're in Selma, or what if you're in one of these like outer cities, which make up the majority of the room in Fresno County? Well, you need your roads to be taken care of because you got to drive to work, or you need emergency services to be able to get to you without like losing a tire because they hit a pothole, right? Or
Yeah.
did you know that like part of county transportation services is also farm worker transportation? We drive them around. You need all of this. But because of the way that it was actually because of the horse trading process for the Measure C replacement, a lot of places were getting screwed. A lot of places were not getting very well taken care of. So I have people that I disagree with that, I defer to their judgment in certain areas. They definitely know what's best for their city. As a Fresno County voter, I got to think about it overall. But here's what it comes down to. Let's take this back to role theory. So I said that there is a 3-2 vote in Fresno County Board of Supervisors. It is one of the members is moving up. Nathan Magzig looks like he's heading to the state. Okay, great. His seat is being run. The two people competing for his seat are Vong Manitoa, Clovis mayor, and Diane Pierce, the Clovis mayor pro tem.
Mhm.
So, and they're very different personalities. And, you know, I like both of them. I really do. They're very different personalities. As a result of the Board of Supervisors' actions to send it to review, which delayed the thing, in order for them to get it on the ballot, what they did was you had Fresno Mayor Jerry Dyer and Clovis Mayor Vaughn Montour, both Republicans nominally,
Yeah.
call up a couple of Democratic representatives in the state. They gutted a bill that was supposed to pay for rural hospitals in order to force this was a in order to force it onto the ballot. And by the way, they wrote an entire bill at the state level that was targeted at one county. One county. So for that reason, there's going to be a lawsuit. Here's the thing. Here's why this matters. Personally, uh, we know that there's going to be a fight over this. We know this fight's already here. We know that this fight's going to take a couple of years. We know that if we don't this is choose your fighter, because we know that Fresno County is actually going to be fighting with the state, and it needs to fight with the state over a matter that's very important. It's Vong Moctoa, who's a very nice guy, versus Diane Pierce, who's polarizing because and it really comes from where they came from. Vong Manitoa, his experiences as a city planner, like he's a very backroom government guy, like just really technocratic, that kind of thing. And Diane Pierce started off, if I remember correctly, in talk radio, so she's going to be a little bit more politically divisive, but. Uh, since they're trying to take over the seat that is currently held by Nathan Magzig, and because we have a major fight coming, there's generals. You watch The Godfather, like
Yeah, a
you
long
have
time
to
ago,
see The
but yeah,
Godfather.
yeah.
Okay, so when Michael Corleone tells God, what's his name? What's his name? Tom to step down because he was making his father the consigliere. It's because and his explanation was like, Tom, you're a great consigliere, but you're not a wartime consigliere. Like we don't like that kind of thing. That's kind of how I'm looking at this race. I don't have anything bad against Vong, not at all. I'm going with Diane Pierce because if we are going to have this fight, I want somebody who showed that they have some fight. I want somebody who's shown that they can actually they're not going to roll over, that they're not going to abandon the fight, that they are going to aggressively argue for their people. Now here's an example of what Diane Pierce has done. And by the way, this is effective grassroots. This is very effective grassroots. Diane Pierce has caught a lot of flack in the city of Clovis because city of Clovis is kind of like like its own little enclave, right? And she catches a lot of flack for being too politically divisive. They're like, well, we're trying to focus on what we can do here at our level, and we don't want to bring state level or national level issues into here. And why did we even want to do that? That's a waste of everybody's time. Okay, great, I get it.
Yeah,
Well,
before you say that, I just want to
God,
say, I understand that point of view. You know,
sorry, I'm way
I,
too
I,
weeds on this, but yeah.
I don't want to get involved with the state and the national. The problem that I have with that here locally is that the state wants to get involved locally. Now, I happen to live in an area. I live in Clovis. I happen to live in an area where, unfortunately, the state wants to put these low income housing everywhere in every city. They want
Oh
to force
yeah.
every city to
Oh
put low
yeah.
income housing, which great. You know, I grew up. You know, my parents were tenants in the projects. It's it I understand that. I have reaped the rewards of the government helping out. But I also understand that there are certain areas where you don't want to have low income housing. When somebody pays six, seven, $800,000 for a house, and they purchase a house, and they did the homework and said, "I am purchasing this house. The land around my home within a couple miles is not designated to be set up for low income housing."
Oh yeah.
Great. You think about those things when when you start to make big purchases like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then one day you find out from a friend, "Hey, did you hear they put low income housing? They redistricted for low income housing right across the street from me." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh yeah, and by the way, like a quarter mile down the road, there's gonna be another one." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, they have to. They redid the land for multifamily housing, um, or not multifamily housing, high density housing,
Yep.
and it's gonna be they're gonna have low income housing." And I'm like, "What do you mean, like projects? Like I'm gonna have the projects down the street from me?" Like nothing against those folks, because I came from that. I
Hmm.
you know I grew up in West
But
Sacramento,
there's
and
a reason you're not there now.
there's a
That's where you came from, but there's a
I
reason you're not there now.
I worked really hard. I worked really hard for the things that I have to provide my children with a certain, lifestyle, um, and like I said, it's nothing against those get that take advantage of that. I think that if there's an apartment complex, if there's, a couple, 3 or 4, Section A apartments in there, it's to me, it's like, yeah, you're putting it in there, that's fine. But to
Mhm.
specifically designate every city has to have high density housing for
Mhm.
low income housing. It's like, wait a minute.
Yes.
We're not all Los Angeles. We're not all San Francisco. We're not all San
Mhm.
Jose. This is like Clovis is a small, I would say it's a city. It's a small city. We don't have the massive need for it like those other cities. To force that on us, I think that you have to have somebody loud like a Diane Pearson to
Mhm.
go back and fight that.
Yep.
Um, and I like both candidates. I think Vong he does a great job.
Dude, he's such
But
a nice guy. I feel bad saying anything about him. He's such a nice guy. Like
yeah,
he's such a great guy. Like,
well,
but
yeah,
he's just not the guy. He's
I
not
think he
the
does a
guy
great
right
job. But when you have that issue and you're not fighting back, and what are you doing? Are you calling Madera?
now.
Are
Mhm.
you on the phone with Huntington Beach? Are you on the phone with these other cities that
Mhm.
don't want this high density housing to go back to the state to sue them to fight it?
Yep. Mhm.
How are you fighting back against this? Because we don't want that. We don't want that. Like, there's so many areas in the county that could be so much that could benefit those that need that type of help so much more. It's expensive to live where I live. I'm
Yeah.
not, it's, y- what are you going to do? Get on the bus and ride to, I don't know, you're going to ride across town to a Winco? You're going to take 3 buses to get to Winco
Mhm.
and then ride back? Because if you can't afford the housing, then I'm assuming you can't afford the car. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, you got a lot of renters, but okay. So there's like three or four different things based off of what you're just talking about because I completely understand and agree. Like talking about John Lewis used to talk about making good trouble, and a lot of my progressive friends they think anything they do making good trouble. Like, no, no, you're trespassing, you're breaking the law, stop it. But no, there is such a thing as good trouble. So Diane Pierce, one of the more recent things she was doing, like you remember there was the recent kerfuffle. Matter of fact, this is pretty timely. You know how Sophie Cunningham was talking about how like men should not be competing in women's sports, and then and it's cancer of freedom, and like what is it Royce Jones or whatever his name was, like they
Yeah,
declared for the WNBA draft, that whole thing. Well, when
yeah,
the California when CIF, which is the organization that controls high school sports, just want to emphasize that under 18 high school sports. in
Yeah.
California. They were bringing their state meat over to Clovis because, hey, not lots of high quality stuff down there, lots of different places to your deal. Uh, this is Diane Pierce's backyard. She's just like, no. By the way, we're not. You're not bringing trans athletes into women's sports so that they can go ahead and do their thing. Now, to some people, they were just like, okay, dude, seriously, stop. Like, why are you bringing a cultural war issue? You're a Clovis City Council person. You're Clovis Mayor part time. Okay, great. I get it, especially in Clovis. They don't like stuff that rocks the boat. I understand. But guess what rocking the boat did? It got a whole bunch of people. She was able to hold a couple of different press conferences. She got a whole bunch of different people together, got national coverage. The Trump administration saw it. They came back, and all of a sudden, like the actual fact that she was highlighting this issue and being loud about it led to a compromise at CIF. Because CIF, they're, a lot of these, look at where their incentives are. Their incentives is to, do the woke thing because they're in California. They don't want to get sued for discrimination, whatever. But now
Yeah.
Diane Pierce Diane Pierce fought this fight so well that she actually got SIF to bend the knee. They're like, okay, look, how about we do this? Based on where the legalities are, we can only do so much, but why don't we do this? Any girl that would have not placed on the podium because there was a trans athlete that was competing against her gets to be on the podium. Any scholarship that she would have been eligible for, it had were not for that trans athlete, she's now eligible for it. Now we still have to let the trans athletes compete because the law of the state of California, but so they'll get whatever they earn too, but we are specifically going to go out of our way with our agreements with everybody else to make sure that these females are not disadvantaged by having to compete with male biological males in female sports. That was a Clovis City Councilwoman that did that for the entire state of California. And by the way, the state of California is one of the lamplights for like it is a beacon for progressive policies for the entire rest of the United States. California and Texas both believe that every other state in the union should be exactly like them, just for different reasons. Texas wants to be left alone. California wants to socially engineer. So a Clovis City Councilwoman did that, and everybody was telling her not to do it, and then barking at her the whole time that she needed to stop and shut up. She made that positive effect. So okay, knowing that the entire city, I'll give you one example on the campaign right now. Okay, District 5 contains Shaver Lake and a couple of other different places. Now, one thing that's really hot on the issues at the moment is the fact that some of the folks up in the hills don't like their water quality. There was just an assessment done
Yeah.
by the county supervisors. They were like, hey, no, everything's fine. I guess it's well water or something. And, I've seen videos that were going viral of folks like saying, okay, well, you know what? I was just told by my board of supervisors that I don't need to drink bottled water. Like, so they said the water from the tap is perfectly drinkable. So they do that. They pour the water into the tap and it looks like that. Now, there's other reasons why that might look that way. There could be older pipes involved. There could be other water sources and other stuff. So, okay, caveat emptor, a grain of salt. But I'm seeing these issues, and that's in District 5. All the hill folks are up in District 5. And by the way, one of the hardest parts about being out there is that nobody ever goes to say hi to you.
Yeah.
Nobody ever actually goes out there to really demonstrate that they care. Diane does. And you're telling me that if you're telling me I know a couple of other different things that here's another great example, just the difference in the way that they govern. Okay, so the Fresno City Council already had "In God We Trust" over their dais. Seems like a small thing. Seems like a a culture war issue. But some of her constituents, because no, Diane did not look for this fight. Some of her constituents came up to Diane and she was just like, "Hey, Fresno has it. Can we put In God We Trust over, in the Clovis City Council chambers?" Now, if you know Clovis, if you've actually seen how Clovis has ever voted, like that's probably going to be a winning issue. You're probably going to be able to, you're going to get a little bit of pushback, but the majority, that's pretty much an 80-20 issue in that area. The mayor, Von Manitoa, so, Diane here, she suggested, the mayor's like, let's get a study on that. Really? Really? We need a study for this? before we're going to pass this? Like, so he takes, like, no, 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 I want to see a study. I want to see a study. Like, okay. So they go ahead, they do the study, and it comes back. And now, because of the results of that study, Diane's, and by the way, I'm totally paraphrasing everything that happened here. Like, there's other different details. I'm just making it user friendly, communicating what happened. So
Yeah.
then, so they get the initial results back, and Diane's like, okay, so like we're good now, right? We can put "In God We Trust" up there, and it's like, no, 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 no. We should really get a real study this time. So they took government funds to go ahead and to go ahead and get another like official survey study or whatever, or host an official poll to see how Clovis residents felt about having "In God We Trust" in their city council chambers, just like Fresno City Council does. And Fresno is a much bluer area. Okay, it's much less
Yeah.
conservative, and they still have, "In God We Trust." So guess what? Hey, guess what the poll said? No, it's like a 70-30, 80-20 issue. Yeah, no, they want that. Who could have thought? So hey, thanks for spending a little bit more money just to be sure, and thanks for delaying it a little bit. But was this really an issue? Like, this is the hill we're going to die on? This is something that actually requires that much. And by the way, again, Diane wasn't looking for this fight. Somebody brought it to her. Okay, all she's doing is aggressively advocate. She's aggressively advocating for her constituents, because if a constituent comes up to her with a problem, and you're not going to like you're not going to like the way that she says everything. Granted, and I know a lot of folks that they have that are strong supporters. They have that same concern. I get it, but yeah, no, she's gonna. If I have to pick somebody to go ahead and go to the board of supervisors, where I know we're about ready to have some really significant fights, I'm picking my fighter. I don't
Yeah.
think that I know that Diane could do what Nathan Magzik did to advocate for his constituents. I don't know that Vong has the wherewithal, or the, I don't want to say aggressiveness or assertiveness. I don't know that if Vong was sitting in Nathan Magzy's seat, that vote would have gone the same way. I don't
Yeah.
know that if Vong had gone in there. And by the way, you could consider that a good reason to vote for Vong. Great. Like, if you like them as receiver placement, that might be a reason. But he's going to be more likely to get rolled over. He's going to be more likely to make the deal to go along, because we got other stuff to do. And and by the way, Buddy Mendes is getting out of there. He's getting replaced by Margaret Mims. We have another moderate voice that's coming onto the council. Okay, like, we got Gary Butterfield, but we're also about ready to have Margaret Mims, and I don't know anybody who doesn't love Margaret Mims. If you don't love Margaret Mims, we can't be friends. Like, she's like, she's just that girl. But one of the the reason I bring this up, talking about Grassroots, one of the things that irritates me a lot for folks that are thinking about Grassroots is, always know why you're doing it. Every conversation has a, like, we should probably get into the 5 ways to have a conversation, or the 5 steps to a conversation, but the everything has to have a point. And if
Right.
your point is you're just talking about it because you're venting your spleen, you need somebody else to hear your rage or frustration, that's fine. But you're also not going to achieve anything that way. If
Exactly.
your point is to raise awareness, but then, okay, you're just assuming that once somebody is aware, then they're just going to go out there and do what you want them to do. That's not how any of this works at all either. So any conversation you have needs to have an ask at the end, no matter what other things that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So one of the nice parts about one of the nice parts about working with Diane, she's an action oriented candidate. I love her, love her. She's great. She's an aggressive advocate. She's a fighter. You know what? Your politics is not politics is a blood sport. It's not patty cake. And you know what? Vong's a great city manager. He's a great guy in general. He's really great at. I have nothing bad to say about him. No moral judgments at all.
Hmm.
He's so helpful he's a great guy. He's not a fighter, or in my estimation, that would be the only thing I would say against him. And unfortunately, that's given where the board of supervisors is and what they're going to be needing to take on in the coming years. Because again, Measure C is going to be there for 30 or 40 years. Like, for right now, we're not in peacetime. We're in wartime, and I'm going to make a different choice based on that information.
Yeah.
So uh, I like the fact that we're actually working with the guys I'm working with, Golden State Revival. I like the fact that we're actually working on 3 or 4 different races across the state. I know that you're not just focused in your own little area. We're also focused in our area. I'm actually really excited because we're going to be doing a grassroots event. I think not this Saturday, but the Saturday after next. I'm going to be driving down to Bakersfield and like some of the southern area to help actually get out the vote for Guillermo. Like we're going to actually put boots on the ground because we're not losing by 12 votes again. No,
Yeah.
no. And by the way, while we're down there, we're pitching everything else that we need to pitch because it's about building community. But
Yeah.
we're going to exercise positive grassroots.
I honestly, that's one race that I hope we win. I talked to Guillermo a few months ago.
Mhm,
I wish I would have had more time, and I was as involved as I was,
mhm,
or involved as I am now. But I think that I I want to say this as politely as I can say, but I hope that he can mop the floor with the opponent, and show them that
convince them to win.
in an area
Mhm,
that is conservative, we're not gonna let it go. Like, I'm all about balance,
mhm,
but because of the direction that California has gone in the last 20 years, the hyper movement towards this super, Democrat control in California,
mhm.
the little bastions of hope that we have to hold on to that. And the fact that we lost it by 12 votes is insane to me. Um, and
By
I
the
know
way,
that
you made the strongest argument. Not to interject, and I'll just say this and get back to what you're saying. So put a pin in it. But that's the strongest argument for getting involved in doing anything at grassroots anyway. Like it can be extremely lonely here in California. Thinking that you're the only guys doing it. No, the more people that you
yeah,
get out there and talk to, the more you're just like, oh, it ain't just me. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Like one of like the 5 reasons why people volunteer, one of the 5 things you can get out of volunteering or doing anything grassroots level is actually the social connection. Like, okay, I'm talking to and I'm dealing with people that are just like me. Now, by the way, when you're canvassing, a lot of people are scared about canvassing because they're like, oh, what if somebody does slams the door in my face? Great, they just saved me some time. I'm going to go talk to 5 of their neighbors. Like, I don't
Yeah,
care. But like they're worried about getting having a hostile reaction on the door. That's really not the case for the majority of the time. The majority of the time you're targeting the people that you're talking to. You generally agree with them on some stuff and you're just letting them know, hey, go vote. This thing's on the ballot. You tell
exactly.
them and then walking them away. So like it's generally a more positive experience. And anything that you do in grassroots is going to be dealing with a lot of other people that are going to make you feel less lonely. And in my particular case, like it's actually deepened my faith. It's actually deepened my connections. It's actually helped my networking. Like there's reason the best evidence or the best argument for getting out there and doing something is exactly what you said. Is that don't get discouraged. Do not get discouraged because I guarantee you, anybody that's actually out there, if nobody nobody regrets going to the gym after they're done. Okay, but that doesn't mean everybody wants to go to the gym in the first place, right?
Yeah,
If you can get yourself out there a couple of different times through Forum California or through Golden State Revival or through the Guillermo Gutierrez campaign or a local campaign in your area or a good congressional campaign, Kirkland for Congress, or in our area. Like I would love to see you, working to help see Diane Pierce get elected. Like once you're plugged in and involved, like you get to meet a lot of really cool people, and then you get to have them on your podcast, and then see exactly how long they can go talking without taking a breath. You get to have these opportunities, but only but only because you actually got out there, and it's exciting. It's super exciting. There is no better antidote to despair than to there's no better antidote to the despair that comes from feeling like you don't have any power than working with other people and getting your power back, getting your agency back. You're not alone. We're here. We're actually you're going to meet people that actually want to empower you. you're going to be able to have a say. You're going to be able to make a positive difference. Not necessarily. Sorry, I get kind of you can tell I get excited when I talk about this. This is literally my driving factor. You are
No,
not
I'm
going to
glad that
be.
you're doing this. I'm
Yeah,
glad that you're
you're
doing
not
this.
going to. You may not be able to change the presidential election, but you know what? You're going to be able to change that little circle that's around you. 12 people, 12 votes would have changed the seat in the and by the way, that's not the only race where we had like less than a couple of hundred votes that actually decided it. We're this close. The only difference is we have to be more motivated, more effective at our get out the vote strategy than a lot of other people are. So if you buy into the black pill, and I'm listening to some people in, like, even in the Republican Party, they're just like, oh no, everything's terrible. That kid. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. No one in your family still talks to you. You haven't been hugged in a while. I'm not even angry at you. I just kind of feel bad for you. No, go outside, touch grass, and then when you want to come back in, like, you're not going to win by by a never-ending stream of negativity. Never going to do that. Never going to do that. But you know what? If we actually get together, you can see positive results. You are going to have stories at the end of every week that you go knocking of somebody that is significantly better off because you knocked on their door. Oh my God, I got tons of those stories. Get out. I don't care what anybody, pick your race, pick your opportunity. Just get out there and talk to people. Get out there and actually work with some other folks. Get out there, get motivated, and do something. And if even a little bit, and you're going to be able to make a positive difference. Man, that's exciting.
You know who's really good at that,
Who's that?
locally, that's running for assembly is Jim Paulsgrove. You know Jim?
I love Jim. I love Jim.
I
He's a
you
good buddy of
know,
mine. He's
I
he's yeah, he's
I
a good dude.
every time I see Jim, he's like a breath of fresh air. He's straight up. He doesn't bullshit you. Tells it like it is, and he gets out there and works.
By
And
the way, has he been on this podcast yet?
yeah.
Okay,
I sat and talked with him before the primary, and I'm really glad he made it through to the general.
sure.
In fact, I actually want to have him back on again because I know that the general is going to be a little bit tougher for him because now he's going up against big Democrat money. But there's this thing about Jim
Gonna be
that he was
it's
willing
gonna
to
be
go out there and campaign for other people.
yeah.
Like, he's not just working for himself, he's working for others. He's actually out there doing hard work, he's meeting the community, and it wasn't just during this campaign.
Mhm,
um, I would go to events before,
mhm.
and I'll go to the RNHA meeting, and he's there.
He's
I'll go
everywhere.
to he's
Yeah.
everywhere. This guy is so
Mhm,
involved. I do hope that he wins because I know that for somebody that it shows up for all the things he shows up for, he will show up
mhm.
for his constituents, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's something that they need out there.
Well,
Again,
he's
just another
he's also
another person that's right outside of where I'm at.
the thing with Jim is that he's smart enough to realize this is a get out the vote problem, and it's always been a get out the vote problem. By the way, there's other reasons to feel pretty good about his chances. There's other reasons to feel pretty good about his chances, and one of the reasons why. And by the way, I'm just going to hold this up to the campaign, this is.
I think your screen froze, but
This
it's
thing.
frozen pretty good.
Can you see it? That's all of his information. Look him up. He's a great guy. I was One of the things I was looking for, Gio, was actually he's doing a series of meet and greets right now. He's got his next one coming up in Selma. He's got one in Fresno after that. Anybody who's watching this, I want to confirm what his actual next dates and times are, so that we can actually get some people out there to meet him. But he's a great example of somebody, because he recognizes that this is a get out the vote issue, and the Democrats are split. The Democrats are split on this one. They were, and we were just talking about it earlier. Sometimes when your candidate loses, you don't want to get out there and vote. And in this particular case, the race between Sandra Celadon and Annalisa Perea got nasty, and there was a lot of money in that nastiness during the primary. So if enough Republicans get out there to vote within his district, he's actually got a pretty solid shot. Like, he
Yeah.
actually does. He needs a little bit more support. Unfortunately, I looked at his district. I looked at some of the grassroots stuff on there. It has to be worked a little bit differently because it is all over the place. Like it is an absolute nightmare to walk. Nightmare to walk. But Jim's always there. He's always putting up support for everybody else. Just like I was telling you Steve Hilton was doing for the last 2 years. He's always going to be there and anything we can possibly do to help him out. If and when I can confirm what his next if and when I can actually confirm when his next meet and greet is, I want to make sure everybody has that information.
Yeah, it's funny when I go to the events locally, people always go, "Hey, I didn't know you guys were in town." I'm like, "Dude, I live here."
All the
'Cause
time. Yeah.
it's I laugh every time because, I'm so involved with candidates from different areas, like Guillermo, I
Yep.
wanna have him on, and people will probably go, "Well, maybe he lives in Bakersfield." We had, I wanna have Leticia Castillo on, she's in Riverside. Shane Lewis is here in Fresno, but
Hmm.
I think he lives in San Jose, and he's covering an area that's it's so weird because it's like San Jose,
Yeah.
uh,
No, they were not
Watsonville.
trying to make this. Yeah.
The way they map these things out in California makes no sense. But, you know, I don't have a lot of the local candidates on, but, when I met Jim, we had a d we Jim and I actually had a disagreement the first time we met. Um,
You can
but
be you can be that guy sometimes.
so could I.
Yeah. I love him. But yeah, we can both be that guy sometimes.
But, I over time with Jim, I learned about his character. It's not that he's I heard somebody say, "Well, he's really abrasive," and I'm like, "Nah, he's not gonna sit there and sugarcoat things." I appreciate that because he's everywhere, he's so involved everywhere, and he wants to put in all that he has to be there. He's not gonna just sit there and, like, be the I feel like, there's candidates, maybe a mayor here or there that
Mhm.
will do that, that will spend the time and make you feel sweet and send you home, but sometimes you just need that fighter. Sometimes you just need
Yeah.
that dog to come out, and,
Which, by the
that's
way,
why I
that's
like Jim.
actually
That's why I like
that's
Jim.
yep,
There he
yep.
is. There's his
We're both
contact
Jim.
information.
We're both Jim stands. We're both Jim stands.
So you wanted to go over the 5.
All
I
right,
wanna take
so
credit.
there's a couple of different there's a okay so there's actually a couple of there's a couple of different ways that you can actually do grassroots. Usually 5 different things, and if we're talking about capacity, because I already told you what the actual questions we're looking for when we're doing volunteer management or we're looking with volunteers is capability, availability, location, experience, and friends. But just like that, in there's a lot of different ways to do grassroots right now. We've already talked about letter writing. We've talked a little bit about phone banking and how much you like it and I hate it. We've talked a little bit about knocking doors, which is still, and I will die on this hill. It is still the most effective way of anchoring a positive emotion to a candidate or cause. It's just extremely expensive and time intensive. Uh, there's you can host ballot parties. That's one thing I'm working on for a lot of other different people. Hosting meet and greets. Meet and greets are huge. You can Jim. We were just talking about how Jim Paulsgrove is doing a bunch of those. It's a great way to go ahead and find good volunteers and precinct captains to help run their race. I don't want to just talk I don't want to just win over the person I'm talking to. I want to win over the 5 people that they know that they're going to talk to about this.
Yeah,
There's only same thing with we at the very beginning. And how's this for a callback? At the very beginning, we were talking about appropriately arguing on social media to practice your arguments only on 1 of 2 areas. Number one, if you can convince the person, or number two, if you convince the people watching. That's what makes it
right.
worth your time, and that's it. It's really more about the audience sometimes than it is about the actual person you're talking to. But there's the nice part about grassroots is that everybody can do it because everybody's already We already have conversations all day. The only difference is you're having an intelligent conversation with a point at the end. An intelligent conversation with a point at the end. By the way, one of the reasons why Grassroots is so effective is if you're talking to people in your community, you're going to be a lot better in tune with the values that they have. It's a lot easier to answer the question, which two of my 70 arguments do you need to hear to get you to vote the way I'm asking you to vote?
Yeah.
Like, what do you actually care about? That's Grassroots is all about that. It's all about caring and values, like through conversation. So the whether you're doing a phone bank or you're talking to some strangers in the in the checkout line at the grocery store, or you're knocking on doors, or you're hosting a letter campaign, or you're doing an event, no matter, or you're hosting a fundraiser, or whatever else you can possibly do grassroots rise. The fundamental portion of it is the conversation that you're having. So there's 5 steps to a conversation. There is the intro, there's the qualification, there's the presentation, there's the negotiation, and then there's the close. And I know that sounds salesy, but hey, I learned my craft knocking doors selling coupon books before 9/11 happened. That's how long I've been doing this. So the intro is obviously it's just how you start the conversation. Intro is if it's a stranger, if this is a cold call, they're going to have a couple of interesting questions like, who are you and what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And by the way, why should I listen to what you have to say? Like, what? Why are we talking? Like, that's the stuff you immediately have to come up with. That's the whole point of the intro. Now, the intro is letting them get to know you long enough about like this is me in the conversation I want to have. The qualification is about me getting to know what conversation I want to have with you and if you're worth my time. Because by the way, that's a two-way street. Every relationship is negotiated. And during the qualification phase, that's where I'm qualifying which conversations we're going to have, addressing your values and figuring out what the rest of this conversation needs to look like. So once you know who I am and once I know what you care about, then the presentation happens. That's the main body of the conversation, which you've been practicing on Facebook, you've been doing the back and forth, whatever. Practicing
Yep.
in a mirror. Okay. Because by the way, 80% of communication is nonverbal, and if you have a whole bunch of different things that are interfering with their ability to hear what you have to say, fix that problem first. So now that we've actually had the conversation, the core body of the conversation of the presentation, well, a conversation is two-way. It's a two-way street. Sender receiver also requires feedback. So the negotiation and generally them giving you feedback. Oh, well, I don't know about that idea. I think about it this way. Or if they have an objection, like, oh, I don't vote because of X, Y, or Z. Or you know what, that's actually a pretty good point. I like this other issue too. Like all of these are different ways of dealing with whatever other comments, or concerns that pop up in their mind while you're having this conversation in order to get to the purpose of your conversation. And then after you've negotiated that, then you can close. And the close is just something as simple as what do I want you to do with this conversation now? That can be
Yeah.
something as simple as sign this, like give me your signature. If I'm collecting signatures, it can be like, hey, can you sign this pledge that you're going to vote? Because that's actually it's been scientifically demonstrated that people, once they pledge something, they want to do it. It makes it like, I forgot, like 30% or whatever more effective. Uh, or go out to vote or call 5 friends or do whatever else. Um, those are the 5 basic steps to a conversation, and that's how every targeted conversation goes. And the nice part about a close is once you're once you got the ask, you can stop talking. Like you can move on to the next thing in your life, move on to the next point of conversation. By the way, if I gave you the intro, these 5 principles, these 5 steps are a lot more technical and formulaic if you're dealing with a cold call, somebody that you don't personally know. If you do if you do actually are talking to somebody that you know, uh, then it's a little bit easier because you can skip a couple of the steps. Like for instance, I like for the intro, you don't have to tell them who you are because they already know who you are. You don't have to qualify their values because you probably already talked to them about something else. And by the way, if you're already talking to them, this doesn't have to be the first conversation you're having. Like you can have the conversation you want to have in the middle of three other different conversations. Like, okay, hey, how's the family doing? Would you? Oh, by the way, here's this thing. Oh yeah, are you going to see the game set like Sunday? The whole thing. If you're, I love the question opener. Love the question opener because
Mm.
it's extremely topical typically. So the question opener is, hey, did you see this thing? Hey, did you see this thing? An example I used to love that I love to use, and I think I actually used this in a class that you saw, was like, "Hey, did you see the thing about Sophie Cunningham saying that men shouldn't play the WNBA? Did you see that? Yeah, I don't know what. Like, I got that. I saw that on Diane Pierce for Supervisor, her Facebook page. I don't remember how long ago. You'd have to go there yourself to find it. I'm just kind of poking you like, hey, this is my source. Go take a look at it. And even if you disagree with me, you're going to go look at my source. So it's like, hey, I found it here. Go find some other stuff. What do you think about that? Or man, isn't that crazy? Like, dude, this is a as long as you end that conversation with an ask, as long as you end that conversation with something to do afterwards, congratulations, that was an effective grassroots conversation. Your goal in grassroots is to take your vote and turn it into 25 others. And by the way,
Yeah,
you got all cycle to do it. And the fun part is you just get to, there's a lot of other different ways to do it too, which is great. And I love that.
that's it's almost like you go in and you're not trying to convince them to vote for them. You just want to
Yeah.
walk away with the leaving them with that curiosity
Hmm.
that,
Or, yeah, or
well,
just
who the
plant the
heck is
seed.
Diane Pearson?
Well, and here's the other
And
thing,
what
by
is
the way.
this Sophie Cunningham? Let me go look up. I gotta need to go look this up.
Exactly. Well, there's other reasons about that too.
I need to
But
go. I need to go look that up.
mhm. No, exactly.
Find out.
And this
I
is
want
the
to find out who Sophie Cunningham is. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Well, one thing, by the way, one thing I actually really like about that is that, and this kind of frustrates me because I do work on a lot of campaigns, and the campaigns are a lot of the campaigns, one of the things that they get wrong is they only want to focus on the voter contact during the last month. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're in a county like ours, Fresno County, that has a voting month and not a voting
Yeah,
day, then half of the people, by the time that they even see anything from you or they even get to talk to anybody affiliated with your campaign, half of them have already voted, and since they've already voted, they're even more irritated that anyone's even trying to talk to them about it.
yeah,
So the best way to do this, the most effective way to do this, is on an interpersonal level, one-on-one, small, light conversations over the course of time. And the way to think about it is you're farming because you can't harvest anything you haven't planted. If you're planting the idea, you're planting these concepts, you're planting these values, or you're just kind of pointing it out because you know that they already have it. If you're doing that, then you're going to be a lot more effective than any mailer that anyone is ever going to send out.
that's
Any
a good
mailer.
point.
100%. You just got to, pick your spots. Like, don't be, and make it a natural conversation. Don't be, when I was training a guy, I'm not going to mention his name. I was training a guy on the doors. And one of the ways that he got trained on the doors, let's use Jim Paulsgrove as an example. He would the way he got trained on the doors was he would knock, 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 and then he would step back, like take one nice big step back, which I liked, but then he would just go like this and hold the thing out at arm's length. I'm like, why are you doing that? He's just like, oh, so they can see it, and then he'd walk back up. Now I know why he was trained that way because it's like, okay, well, it's not about you, it's about who you're knocking for. So, but I'm like, okay, is that natural? Would you
Mm-mm.
ever would you ever actually do that in any other conversation? Probably not. So yeah, stop doing that. But hey, this is the level of training that some people get. Natural conversations are always a little bit more effective.
Yeah, I could never imagine doing that, holding the flyer out. I mean, for me, I have to know how you're doing first, you
Yeah,
know? So
I don't necessarily, but yeah, I'm not doing that either. Your actual like your actual superpowers is like one of the things that everybody's like really nervous about whenever they're volunteering or they're doing anything grassroots. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what to say. I was like, well, I got two pieces of good news for you. Number one, they don't know that you messed up unless you let them know that you messed up. There's no script for this. Like there's not really it's kind of hard to mess up. And by the way, as long as you're enthusiastic and you know why you're out there, you have your testimonial. Like you know why you're out there. If you got nothing else, if the campaign gives you nothing else, no other talking points, no other materials or anything else, they just want you to have a conversation, like a day-to-day conversation. You know why you're volunteering for this person. You know
Yep,
why you're involved. You know why you care. If you have nothing else, you know that. And as long as you have your enthusiasm and you know why you care, you're going to be able to make some headway in grassroots and actually make a positive difference.
I love that. I love that. I love that, that you bring a purpose, but not just a purpose, a plan of action on being most effective.
Hope is not a strategy. Hope is, hope is not a strategy.
Hope is not a strategy. No. No, I mean, you wanna be effective. That's the most important thing. I mean, um, y my guy won, but I mean, my guy won. My guy lost, but I have to say that the grassroots push behind him. I think they did a good job. Um, Steve just man, hand it to Steve. He did a hell of a job, and he's been working out there for a long time. It's like you said.
Yeah.
I hear that. I didn't just hear it from you. I hear it from other people. He
Yep.
went up and down the state, making relationships, putting in the work, and he was on every news
Hmm.
show. I mean, he did a good job. And,
He was 100% putting in the work. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot it my guy lost. It hurts. It still pains me, but, hey, I still have a 14, about to be 15-year-old son. He's about to go to college,
Hmm.
and I say it all the time. Like, if he chooses to go to Fresno State, great, but, if he chooses to go to a school that is focused on STEM, like, if he goes to Texas A&M, I'm gonna
Hmm.
be I'm gonna be ecstatic. I'm be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, son, especially if he gets accepted there on some sort of scholarship. Let's do it, bro. Let's do it." But
Well,
after 4 years, I don't want to be like, "Dad, it's freaking great here. You know, you raised me on these values. I don't wanna leave. I don't wanna," so I have a reason to fight. And I know a lot of people that are listening that will see this now or watching this now or will see this later. I know they have a purpose to fight. When you say things like, "Oh, I'm gonna write in Chad Bianco," first of all, you can't. Second of all, you know, you have to vote with your values, and you have to
yeah.
vote for the best possible chance to vote your values. And I said that with Bianco, and I have to say that with Steve. I always thought Steve was a great candidate. I just it for me, it got personal after he put up the websites against Chad Bianco.
I
And
get
he
it.
stood
I
up
get
there
it.
on the debate stage. It got personal for me. But
I get
at
it.
the same time, before he did that, I was like, how awesome is it that we have, for the first time, the Republican Party, we have more than one great candidate. It's hard enough to say that we have one great candidate for the Republican Party as governor in California. That we have
Hmm.
two? So, yeah, Steve had to fight differently because it was a different kind of fight, something that we've never seen before in California. So, yeah, here
And
we
that's one
are.
of the, and that's one of the hard parts. Like again, everybody takes it so personally that it's hard to actually bring everybody together afterwards. And I think part of the
Yeah.
reason why, and this I had this experience working on the Kirkland campaign for against Lorenzo Rios in the primary.
You know what? I
We
was just
had
thinking that. I was just
yeah,
thinking that because I bet you there's
yeah,
people watching like, "He's always bringing up Bianco." I have
uh,
other examples of that where it's on a lower level, a down
mhm,
ballot. I don't wanna say lower level, just down ballot, and Lorenzo Rios is the exact example. I
yeah.
wanted Lorenzo to win with my whole heart, right?
I know
And this is a local candidate, but he didn't. And
for national office. To be fair, for
Kyle did it.
national office, yeah.
Yeah. Kyle did it. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be like the person that's like, oh, Jim Costa's a Democrat, this or that. I think he does a fine job. He does a fine job.
And
But
getting reelected.
I want someone to go and kick ass. You know, I want somebody that's gonna go and bring the money. Like I want somebody that's gonna go and get some work done. Like I
One of my favorite things when I'm asking somebody like what they like about Jim Costa, he's good at his office is good. He does actually have a really good office.
he
So
does.
like his constituent services is good, but I'm like, okay, well, tell me something that's not because he's Jim Costa voting in Congress. That's because you have a congressman with an office in your area, and so that's still going to be there, even if the congressperson changed. You realize that, right? Like the office isn't going away. Like
Right.
the constituent services are still going to be there, but like what you actually, so that's not the special and unique. Excuse me for have a philosophy degree. Like Aristotle, the Aragon argument is that a good thing is that which does what it's supposed to do well. Like a good knife is one that cuts well. Okay, great. I don't need, like, the definition of something is its unique property that it does better than anything else. Okay,
Yeah.
the unique property for a congressperson is not their constituent services. Like it's not their home office. It really isn't. Like, and you know what?
Right.
If you want to test that theory, call up McClintock's office, call up Valadeo's office. Like, it's fine. We have other Congress people offices that you can deal with. It's great. Nobody cares. Like
It's very true. They
that's
all
not
answer
the
their
thing.
phones.
Yeah, exactly. So so I'm not even saying you're wrong. By the way, one of my favorite conversations to have with people is like, I don't want to tell people they're wrong. And by the way, you don't typically have to, not all the time. So if I can validate, if this is an argument where like I can demonstrate some agreement, if we're having this conversation and we agree on certain things, then we can move forward. There's no actual most conflicts are based on misinformation or misunderstanding. If we can
Right.
actually clarify one of those two things, it's very rare that we actually get to a point in a conversation where it's an actual legitimate disagreement on values, and there's so much stuff you have to get through before you even get there.
Well, let me
Focus
give
on
you
the
an example.
misinformation. Yeah,
Let me give you an example.
sure.
What's the name of the water infrastructure is it the Stucky the water infrastructure that they're gonna build out here in
I
the
know what you're talking. It's not the Stucky Dam. I know what you're talking about.
we'll just call it the dam. You know, Jim's been in there since 2000, and we years and years ago we finally got the funding for the dam. Is it built yet? No. So yeah, he did his job to get the money for the dam, but
Mhm.
we have nothing to show for it. Why? So, when I'm looking at the ballot and I go, and Lorenzo taught me something. He said, you gotta look at the players because they're all playing for you, right? You know, you might have a Republican shirt on or a Democrat shirt on, but they have to play for you as a constituent. Okay, so do you want the best player or not? So when I look at Jim Costa, I go, okay, he got the money, but we don't have anything to show for it yet. So when I look at that ballot, I'm gonna go, "Mm, am I, do I want Jim Costa? No, no,
Fire,
because
pick your fighter.
when I
Mhm.
moved to Fresno and we were in a drought here in California in 2008, what's
Mhm.
changed since that drought and now?
Mhm.
Nothing. Nothing except for now we have money, now we have been sitting on money to build the dam. Okay, no, I'm gonna go with the other player because yeah, we already have the money, but what are we doing about it? I need somebody that's gonna fight to get that water up there because what's gonna
Sure.
happen when the next the next 3 years in a row that we don't get a lot of rain and suddenly Gavin Newsom's like, or well, Gavin Newsom or whatever governor's up there and goes, "Hey, we got to cut back
No.
on water.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys got to take showers every other day. You got to stop watering your lawns." Well,
Uh,
what
we
happened with
just
the
got we just got a Yelp review from the Delta Smelt saying that our services declined precipitously. We need to like
the
Delta
smell?
Smelt is not happy with our services. We need to
Oh,
we
anytime
need
I
to
hear
get those.
Delta smelt, I go, can we farm those fish? Can we just farm them and just
There's not enough meat on them. Not enough meat on them.
no, because they wanna save them, right? Like, they're sending all this water down so that they don't go
Yeah.
extinct. Just farm
Yes.
them, dude, like tilapia. We gotta do something different because the humans have to come first.
So I actually got one for you, specifically having to do with Jim Costa. So check this out. I said earlier on that the congressional races matter to me because Congress is the only people that can or does do anything with veterans stuff, right? So a while ago, while both wars were going on, the funding was finally catching up. At first, it went to the military-industrial complex. Then it went to, which is a real thing, and I got stories about that too. But then it kind of went to the VA system because you had guys like me that were coming out of our service and we're just like, well, my back is killing me. Like, okay, like let's go take care of this. And, we're getting our healthcare services from the VA. Now so they were finally passing all of this money. Remember under President Obama, the shovel ready projects, the Community Investment Act, whatever else.
Yep.
So money was flooding in there. We were just helicopter cashing everything everywhere, because evidently inflation isn't a thing. So, uh, but the point is money was there. And by the way, not only was the money was there, that it was your president and your party that was running it. Okay, so the veterans in the Central Valley. I don't know if you knew this, which means I know that you don't know this. The Central Valley has a higher per capita veterans population than anywhere else in the state of California. Not only that, but our Veteran Service Office has a 5 to 1, has 5 times, it's actually 4.5 times the caseload in our Veteran Service Office than your average county anywhere else in the state of California. So, and plus the Fresno VACH, VACHS, or whatever the acronym is. This is where it's not just your hospital. This is also where you go for your decedent benefits. This is also where you go for your educational benefits and actually to guarantee your eligibility. This is where you go for basically all your other federal veteran services. That's what
Mhm.
it's for. And we serve, because it's Fresno, we serve everywhere basically between between Merced and Bakersfield. Like if you're Central Valley, like we're probably your local one, and they've
That's
just started to
insane.
build out satellite offices. So here's what happened. So we had been arguing. The money's there. We were trying to get better parking because we serve so many people that the parking is absolutely non-negotiable. But it's terrible. And by the way, one of the reasons why that's a challenge is because a lot of us are disabled. A lot of the folks that you see
Mhm.
at the Veterans Affairs, we're either broken or we're old or both. And it's one of like those are your three options. You're either broken, old, or both. And if you're at the VA hospital. So we have a lot of people that need ADA compliant everything, including ADA compliant parking spots. We have a lot of guys that have to have ADA compliant vehicles, which is actually one of the benefits you qualify for under the VA if you have a certain disability rating of a certain type. So we have these bigger vehicles that have to, I don't know, help you get into your wheelchair. So parking is important. Here's what they did. Jim Costa was there at a ceremony announcing, "Hey, we're doing this thing, and we're going to be advocating for. I'm here fighting for the veterans." Standard political crap. When the chips fell, not only did we not get a new parking structure, we didn't get like the majority, if any, of the renovations we were needing or asking for because Jim Costa wasn't a very good advocate. He wasn't a very good fighter for that. But he's still a politician. So you know what they did? You know what they did? When you're talking about adding parking, they're just like, well, we need more parking. We need more parking garages because we need more parking spaces. Guess what? They got a couple of buckets of yellow paint and they narrowed the parking spaces so they could say they added more parking spaces, which is technically true. But have you seen the big trucks that everybody drives out there or the ADA compliant vehicles?
Yeah.
These are not regular size parking spaces. They're actually hard to get in and out of, which means the traffic getting in and out of them is even worse. Plus the fact that most of these drivers are older or need ADA compliance, just so they could say that they got the win. Just so they could say they got the win. They narrow the parking spaces. Get out of here, man. Like you're it looks great for the civilians that never see it. It's one of those statistics that they're going to quote that's just like, hey, that they're going to quote that's like, hey, we did this great thing. We added this many parking spaces to the thing. Yeah, no, you really didn't. You actually made service worse. And that's how politicians get reelected. They get patted on the back. And that's a Jim Costa thing. By the way, did you know that not every veteran actually qualifies for healthcare services in the VA? You don't. Matter of fact, you have to be a certain kind of veteran to even qualify for any benefits. Then you need to be a certain kind of veteran in order to qualify for healthcare benefits. Then you need to be a certain level of disability for you to be able to get your prescription medications. Then you need to get your certain or even get have it primary care services. Then you need to be a certain different disability to have certain different prescriptions. Then you need to be a certain other disability in order to be able to have vision and health care and dental care. Here's the thing, and all of this, the one time Jim Costa ever spoke up was there was a bill that he actually put his name on, where he's just like, okay, I want some of our Hmong and Laotian or whatever it was, people that served with us. We want them to be able to, they were, they were our buddies when we were fighting, not American service members, not with the like not U.S. service members, but we want those folks to be able to get healthcare services at the VA. Now, by the way, I got no problem with that. If you fought alongside us, if you did your whole thing, that's us being courteous to you, but that's not a contractual benefit. Like you're not getting that benefit just because whatever else. So the one time in the 25 close to years that Jim Costa has been in Congress that he had anything to say about veterans benefits, it was adding it to a population which, no, to be fair, hey, okay, but can we actually hire more than one mental health care professional for the VA hospital with prescribing authority? Can we do that first? Or hey, well, how about if we're going to be addressing the actual percentage of their disability benefits? How about you make
Jesus.
how about you make sure that they don't automatically downgrade people's disabilities so that they lose their health care coverage? I mean, that would be good too, right? This is stuff that Jim Costa doesn't do that I know that either Lorenzo Rios or Kyle Kirkland will do. Like it's just that simple. It's pick your fighter. It's pick your fighter. So the I know that a lot of folks were. I know that a lot of the thing. A lot of all politics is personal. A lot of my friends that were working on the Lorenzo Rios campaign, they were doing it for personal reasons. They like Lorenzo. They had a personal relationship with Lorenzo. They felt personally inspired by Lorenzo. He's that guy. Great. I had a personal relationship with Kyle for a couple of years where I worked underneath him and I got to actually saw him in action. Yeah, no, we were on different campaigns, but for the same reason. For the same
Yeah.
reason. All politics is personal. We need to be able to get past the personal feelings of losing in one particular thing in order to move the ball forward. One of the things that I didn't like seeing in the primary were some people were taking this so seriously. The way that I was approaching it, any voter that we talk to at the same time, obviously I want you to vote for my candidate, but I liked having a competitive primary because you're going to be able to talk to people that I can't talk to. And at that point, I'm just looking at it for GOTV purposes. Get out the vote. Let's bring more people to the polls. I'm happy with that. Let's do that. Let's build this up. But if you're fighting in the primary so hard, you're taking it so personal in the primary that you're focused on winning the war but not winning the peace, then and that's the tactics that you're employing, that's the stuff that you're doing, that's the way that you're approaching this,
Hmm.
you're you're not behaving in such a way that it's actually going to be beneficial for you even having a positive difference. There's a lot
Hmm.
of great stuff that people on the Lorenzo Rios campaign were doing. There was a lot of great stuff that we were doing on the Kyle Kirkland campaign. Like I guarantee you right now our field services beat yours just because I was running it, guaranteed. But you guys had the energy was wonderful. The social media engagement, like, dude, the last 2 or 3 weeks of the Lorenzo Rios campaign was like came out of nowhere, like out of nowhere. And when I say you guys, I mean Team Rios. You overperformed my expectations by about 3,000 votes. Like I was not expecting you guys to do that well. I knew we were going to win. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a runaway. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Lorenzo Rios trying to run for something else again because he's not a bad candidate at all. He really isn't. If he wasn't running up
No,
again,
he's a great candidate. Yeah.
and dude, if Kyle wasn't in the race, I'd be all for him. I'd be absolutely in it. but especially because he's against Costa. But we'll see. Like he just needs to retire. Um, that's the good news about. But this goes back to the good news about grassroots. Just having those conversations. Anybody can do it. You don't even have to be. Don't even have to be. Just know where you stand. Talk to people about the stuff that you believe in. Talk to people about the people. Talk to others about the races that you agree with. Talk to people
Hmm.
about your values, but do it in an intelligent way with an ask at the end. Congratulations, you've now done grassroots. You can probably
Yeah.
do it better, but you've done grassroots. That's all it comes down to. God,
Amen.
isn't that exciting? I
Get your
love it,
friend
man.
and get your friends involved. I was moving around a lot because going on about the VA stuff.
Sure,
And we have somebody in Latino Free Minds. His name is Daniel Molina. He's down in Temecula.
sure.
He has a podcast called Point Blank Truth. He's a Marine, and he was explaining to me that the involvement from veterans it's abysmal in California politics. So um, when you're going on about the VA and the lack of assistance that you guys get, I just think that man, if only more people got involved, and took it serious, man. Like, and that goes for everything. That's just one example. I mean, if uh, you know,
Part of that's absolutely cultural, by the way.
it is
And going back to let's talk about the Steve Felton phrase for a second. One of the things I'm going to be happy to that I'm hoping Stephen Felton wins because of is that we currently have not all VA benefits, not all veterans benefits are at the federal level. A lot of them are at the state level, and the so just like you have Doug Collins in charge of the VA at the federal level, you have a I forgot what her name was, but you have a director of Veterans Affairs for the state of California. And the
yeah.
director of Veterans Affairs for the state of California said that veterans benefits are welfare benefits. Excuse me?
What?
Yeah, that happened. That 100% happened. Like the people that the folks that are running stuff up at the state, they're not the folks that are running stuff up at the state, they're not veterans. They're not really helping out as much as they could. I will make certain exceptions for certain politicians, you know, regardless of regardless of their party affiliation. But a lot of that also comes down to their constituent services is good, but they suck as a politician. Their voting record's terrible, but their office is okay. Like that's the best you can say about a lot of these California politicians. So that's one of the reasons why this matters. Another reason this matters. Let's talk about housing because you brought up affordable housing. Drew Bessemer, who's actually is actually having to run for his seat. I think he's in District 2 or District 4 for Clovis City Council. I have to defer to him. He actually made a really great point about how the he's actually making a he made a very good point about how the state of California is actually suing cities for lack of affordable housing, and the way that they have to do it is that if you're going to actually develop X number of houses, X percent has to be affordable housing, and that's how they get you. That's 100% how they get you. And again, this is not this ain't San Francisco. Like this ain't it, and that goes on the city level. But then you have, if you're talking about Fresno Clovis, that's a metropolitan area. That's a couple of cities that have grown together. It's it gets into the middle of everything else. But you know why else? And here's another one. You know why else housing's so expensive? And I actually got part of this from my brother, part of this from Kyle Kirkland, but this is also something that Steve Felton talks about a lot. Do you know what it actually costs to build another house? You know all the requirements that have to go into
The
every new house
regulations are through the roof.
has to have a solar, which is going to have a solar unit, which means if it's a new house being built in California, it, anybody can talk about how long it takes because of environmental regulations. Okay, great. And all of the other regulatory things. Okay, great. The stuff that they're missing, the stuff that they're missing, it has to have a fire suppression system. Hold on. Let me back this up. It has to have a gasless, a flameless water heater, and then a fire suppression system for the water heater that no longer has flame. Like it has to have, like this thing has to have, like it's got to have like solar on top. It has to have energy efficient everything. It has to have double insulation or whatever else it is. Like we actually went down the list. There's an extra $100,000 or so of just extra crap that they make you put into every single house just by mandate. They just wrote a rule, and then it's like, okay, great. If
And
you're going to,
some of these things are decisions that were made by people who weren't even elected. They were appointed.
that's a different conversation. I'm not a big fan of administrative law, and I've argued with a lot of lawyers and legal professors about the relative legality of administrative law. But here you only, but and this is not a legal opinion, but you can. Administrative law is most a lot of the time subject to review. So it's just one of those steps that before you go into until you go into a normal court to actually challenge that, you have to go through all the other steps first. They just want to make sure that you've exhausted all prior options before you take it there. And typically, there's a little bit of deference for the administrative law judge. Thankfully, the Supreme Court overturned Chevron deference 2 or 3 years ago, which was a terrible idea. It was a terrible precedent since the 1980s. The Supreme Court's really been knocking on all cylinders for the last 5 years. It's been doing a great job. Like
Yeah.
for the most part, it's been doing a great job. So it's gotten a little bit easier, but California's not. California does not. You can't ask somebody in Sacramento what the government should not have a say in, like as a Democrat, and get any kind of a positive response. No one's going to tell you like, oh, okay, no, not a role for government.
Right.
Like it's the nanny state. It's why they call it California, California or California stand. But like I said, that the good news is you can change it because once again, 12 votes, 12
12
votes,
votes. 12 votes
12
is a
votes.
major difference. That's not the only one. There was one here um was in Madera, I think it was.
Mhm.
The is the guy named Drew was like 100 votes.
Trying to remember. I know who you're talking about. I'm just bad with the names, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Or like I said, my guy working on his campaign right now. 4 years ago, he ran, lost by 57 votes. And the guy that won is actually ticked so many people off that he's not even running again. I already told them
Yeah.
like before we found that out. I was talking to my buddy that I'm working with. I'm just like, hey boss, you know my messaging when I'm on the doors is going to be like, hey look, it's okay if you voted for the other guy 4 years ago. You know better now. Like it's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Like let's review. Like, has it gotten better or worse? I love knocking those doors, getting the signatures for them because they're just like, well, why should I vote for this guy? It's like what's going on here? It's like, well, for start, he doesn't think that families that have been here for generations should be priced out of their own houses. Like that's for one. Like hey, maybe he wants to just kind of keep the people in the community and not make it so onerous of a burden that they have to that let's say it this way that it's everything's so much of a burden that they need affordable housing, that kind of thing, or they need to go on welfare or that sort of thing. So yeah, it's sorry, just to tie up one other different thing. I told you that it was the veterans thing is kind of cultural. It's cultural because a lot, but it's also generational. Uh,
Oh, that's a good
the,
point.
the different generations of veterans, we advocate differently. We do. We definitely advocate differently. The Vietnam vets fight differently than my generation does. I'm Iraq Afghanistan vet. The Desert Storm vets, the Desert Storm vets fight differently than we do. Then they advocate differently than we do. They're more or less active than we are in certain areas on certain things. And there is a generational change happening right now. We're losing World War II Korean vets. Almost none of them are around anymore. The Vietnam vets are aging out, and they're having to pass the baton. The A lot of the interwar vets and the Desert Storm vets are kind of running stuff right now, which is not a bad thing. But Vietnam and Desert Storm, but the Iraq and Afghanistan vets, we're kind of aggressive. Like we're done. Like we are great at demanding accountability. We don't even care. It's like, okay, great, show me what you've done. You're not going to take a photo with us, pat us on the back, give us some happy words, and then right off into the sunset, come see us 2 years later when it's time for you to run again, and then expect us to actually have your back. No, what have you done for us? Like,
Yeah.
show me the receipts, and we're pretty aggressive about it. And part of the reason why is because we our introduction to this was watching the older veterans having to fight for their causes and having to find a new way to do it. And we that's why we are we're much more engaged. But if you take a look, we're much more inclined to be active. But if you take a look at who your typical volunteers are that run these volunteer organizations, I'm 43. Like, any guy my age and my generation that's at my activity is my thing as a vet. Guess what?
Hmm.
Family and kids. Like, we're low middle age. Like, we're
Right.
actually at the point right now where we have other stuff that we're trying to do. And you know what? Like, you brought up your son. When your kids are out of the house, you're gonna have a little bit more time to do some other stuff, won't you? But until that happens,
Exactly. Well,
the veterans activism is only going to get more aggressive in a good way.
yeah, and yet I'm glad that the veterans are getting towards a generation that is willing to stand up for itself. Um, I I completely understand what you're saying about the generational differences. Like I remember when I was a kid seeing the Vietnam veterans. Um, that was a tough generation with the I don't know if we completely understood the PTSD and the things that they had to go through and the cultural um just it almost seemed like like there was part of society that hated the war so much that they also had a certain feeling towards the soldiers. Um, I don't know if you guys had that, the Afghanistan and Iraqi
Oh no,
veterans.
it was actually way worse than that. I had this argument with somebody 5 months ago. We're talking about the Vietnam vets. Not only did the Vietnam vets were they fighting an unpopular war, because it wasn't always unpopular, but it became very unpopular
Yeah.
by design. So these guys never got told welcome home. Not only that, but the guys that were they were called baby killers, spat on the whole thing. And by the way, there was a lot of there was some stuff behind that too. But here's the other thing: a lot because the draft was going on. Like, I was part of an all volunteer force, so these guys got drafted. They got sent overseas. They had to go do their thing, and then when they came back, they got yelled at. Nobody liked them, and like everything else. In my case, it was an all volunteer army. I chose to go. Everybody I served with chose to go. We went to war. We came back, and then all of a sudden, everybody's patting us on the back. Hey, thank you for your service. The other thing about the Vietnam vets, why they got disrespected, is, and we get a little bit of this because in my generation, because a lot of folks they join the service for education benefits because they want to pay for college. But in the when the draft was going on in Vietnam, you had education deferments. You had people that were dodging the draft. They were getting deferments, but the colloquial term is dodging the draft. They were getting deferments for getting an education. So you had a lot of folks that were in college at the time, or that were coming up to college at the time, or that was coming to college afterwards. You just thought that the Vietnam vets were a whole bunch of guys that were not smart enough to get out of the draft because they couldn't get into college, or they couldn't get a deferment, or their daddy didn't have enough money, or whatever else. And I was having this argument with somebody, and I was like, okay, look, you got to understand, we had officers, like, that in order to be an officer, you have to have a college education, right? We had officers in Vietnam, right? Okay, so that's point one, why it's not just the stupid guys going. Number two, they were drafted. These guys were actually told to go. Upon threat of death or dismemberment, these guys had to go. And by the way, here's the other thing: a lot of these guys were like me. One of the reasons I joined is like, look, there's a war going on. There was no question when I joined that I was going to get deployed and go to war. None whatsoever. There was no question I was going to, be in danger. But if I don't do this, there is a war going on. It's going on with or without me. I just got these guys just got drafted. But if they get out of the draft, and somebody who takes their place doesn't make it home, that guy could have had a family. Am I better than that guy? Is that the honorable thing to do? And that mattered to a lot of these guys. I know a lot of Vietnam vets that's why they did it. They could have gotten out of the draft and they didn't because it would have just been sending somebody else over there in their place. Like that, it was a question of honor. So, no, first of all, Vietnam vets were unfairly castigated as being less intelligent and more dishonorable than the vast majority of them were. It's also
Yeah.
easily proven. But that was the attitude at the time. That was the prevailing ethic at the time. And so and when I tell everybody about it, it's like, hey, look, I feel terrible whenever somebody thanks me for my service. I'm like, okay, because hey, dude, I went to war. I did this whole thing. Don't thank me for my service. Think of Vietnam vet. Because hell, half of the time when we're talking about the wars that we were in, like it's an argument over who had it worse, and we're usually saying the other guy did. I had a Vietnam, I had a Vietnam vet. I'm like, hey man, we didn't have to, we weren't going through the jungle and doing the whole thing. He's like, yeah, but you weren't able to go out in town and do all this other stuff. I went, no, that's fair. You're like, we
No,
had shorter deployments. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
I I honestly, I think every generation of American service member deserves to be thanked, right? It's whether you're drafted or you volunteer, you still have provided a service to the country that can't be repaid. So when I see problems at the VA or, um, uh, you guys are fighting for certain things that were promised to you, it's like, what are we doing as a society where we're not taking care of those that were willing to risk their lives for us? A lot of them, not all of them, have lost limbs or have become disabled in ways that you can see physically.
Mhm.
But you have all put your life at risk. You've all given more than any American can ask for, and that anybody can ask for. And you, whether you volunteered or were voluntold, um, that you deserve to be taken care of
Well,
as by the country,
well, I can
by our country.
I can actually make you feel a little bit better about that. None of that matters. Why we're like when you're in country, like when you're actually deployed and like you're getting shot at for the first time and the whole thing, like you're standing on top of an ID for the third time. Like when you're doing that, it's not about anything else than just getting home. It's the guy to the left and the right, and everybody working together, doing their job well enough to get us home. That's all we care about. All the stuff later, all the reasons why we join goes away. It's just, hey man, we're just all trying to go home. And like, I literally got into. Here's how strong that is. I got into a knockdown drag out brawl with a guy in my first tour in Iraq. Like just nasty brawl, and we were on a convoy 3 hours later working together. Like it's that serious. No, nothing else matters when you're deployed except getting home. But here's the good news. You said you asked me while we were a little bit off screen, like why I decided to actually kind of get into this, and I was always a little bit active, and I was always a little bit active, and keeping an eyeball out in politics, but. I was also in Fallujah when they started voting in Iraq, and there's especially and I saw people that were getting attacked and killed because they had especially women because they had the black ink on their thumb because they went to go vote because I was there before, during, and then after the surge under Presidents Bush and President Obama. So like saw the whole thing. I was fortunate enough to actually see it progress over time. Like I got to actually watch it over time. And when I come back here, one of my big deals, and this is something that a lot of overly poetic talking about how overly poetic talking about to those who have fought for it, freedom has a taste that no civilian would ever understand. I forgot what the quote is because I'm not going to take it that serious, but you like you don't wind up taking your rights for granted, And if I'm not, especially with the Iraq War, because there's a lot of guys feel different ways about it, and I know a lot of guys that were, a lot of guys that are, very good buddies of mine that they're like, hey man, we shouldn't have been there. Okay, great, but you know what? There's one of the ways that when you're wrestling with where politicians send us, because it's a civilian controlled military. When we're
Right.
wrestling with these kinds of things, it helps to remind ourselves that we were actually helping to that rights come from God, not the government, and we were actually helping protect the rights of a lot of the folks that were out there. We were
That's
trying to
true.
protect their rights for life, liberty, and happiness. So when we come back here and we see rights kind of taken for granted, or start having arguments about positive versus negative rights, then we're going to take it a little bit more seriously. It's not. It's real for us in a way that it's real for us in a way that may not be as real for some other people. Now, generationally, just to take it back here and to take this back to grassroots, there's a saying that my dad used to say all the time, because we moved to Fresno because he was a theologian. He wanted to go to seminary and become a theologian. Couldn't talk in front of people. Wanted to be a pastor. Just didn't have the stage presence. We'll just say. But he used to tell me all the time, and that Christianity is always one generation away from dying. Same thing with the political party. Uh, you're one generation away from dying. The good news is, when we're reaching out and we're having these conversations with some of these younger bucks, I had to, while I was at Fresno State, I was working with a conservative organization, and I was telling them what Reagan's three legs of conservatism were, because they'd never heard the frame. They've never heard that framing. Like, what makes a conservative? Well, here's your three legs of the stool. That kind of stuff. These We have a lot of institutional knowledge that if we don't pass that on, and if we don't reach out, and if we don't mentor those that are coming up behind us, then it's going to be more difficult for us to make a positive impact. But I'll say this: the younger generation, they're hungry for mentorship. They're starving for mentorship. Like, they're great kids. Like, they are. We have a great opportunity to actually empower them and kind of give them the benefit of our insight and perspective, and work with them and
Yeah.
help develop them. And they're way more social media savvy. All the grassroots stuff that I'm talking about, it's harder for them to get out and talk to a person in real life, but they got a lot of different ways of promoting a conversation. So if we're one of the nice parts about being our age or our generation is, as because we're reasonably close. I think when we were talking, I think like we're within 10 or 15 years of each other, but relatively similar life stages. We're both married. Both, we're at the point where we're both at the point where we're fighting for what we believe in, and we're giving back now.
Yeah.
Definitely bring up the younger generation. I can't wait to see what these guys do. I really can't wait to see what these guys do. Like, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean they have so many tools at their hands, and they're good at it. They're so good at it. And we're bad at it, man. We're so bad, dude. The you know what? If there's one thing, a buddy of mine brought this to my attention. He goes, "Have you noticed the difference between the Republican and the Democrats when it comes to like marketing?" I was
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, man, the Democrats are so good because they have these college kids doing it, and we're so bad at it because we're all leaning on AI, and I'm just so sick of the freaking strokes, man. The strokes on our marketing is just I've had it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Use some real fonts, guys. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think one of the other things we need to be cognizant about is that the arguments are different too. Like,
Yeah.
the arguments are different. So one of the first things I had to pick up when I was going to Fresno State, and old enough to be the father of literally everyone else in that room, like a lot of these kids were they did remember 9/11. My first semester of Fresno State, I alluded to, like, me and my professors, we remember exactly where we were on 9/11, and none of these other kids, they're like, wait, what was that like? What do you mean, what was that like? It's like, yeah, what was it like to watch that on TV? It's like, oh, wow, that's right. You don't know. Hell, I was born during the Cold War. You probably were too. Like, my first political memory is the fall of the Berlin Wall. Socialism means something very different to us because we saw the fall of the Soviet Union and we saw all the former Soviet bloc states having to figure out what capitalism was and was not and like transfer over from communism. We were having conversations about why communism fails and why socialism sucks. Socialism means something extremely different to us than it does to somebody 20 years younger than us because they've never
Yeah.
seen that. There's a
Did
lot of stuff they've never seen.
yeah.
They don't remember flying in America before the TSA.
Have you ever been to the 9/11 museum in New York?
No, I have not been in
Um,
New York City.
so I went to the museum. Sorry, I promise I'll end it here, James. I'm sorry.
You're good. Keep going.
It's 10 o'clock. So I went to the 9/11 museum. I took my family. My kids are young. Um, they've only seen like videos at school, like documentaries. So we got to see everything. Uh, it's like ground zero down there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain part of the museum where they you walk into the room and it's photos and personal belongings of them,
Yeah.
and you start to realize like, oh my God, these were real people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's grown men crying in there
Mm-hmm.
because they remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really emotional for me, but I didn't cry in there. It was tough because um you know there was other like grown men that worked in the World Trade Center
Yep.
that now I look and I'm like, oh my God, like that guy is younger than me. He had kids just like
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yep.
But where it really hit me was you go around and you come up these steps and there's the student artwork. I was in seventh grade when this happened.
Yep.
There's student artwork and just the perception of the students around the country of what happened. And I'm reading that and I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't realize the amount of trauma as kids we
Yeah.
like. I had track school. There was a lot of kids in September 11th. They were at school.
Mm-hmm.
I was at home because that month of September was my month off. That was my 1/3 of summer because we had September and then I
Mm-hmm.
think like January, whatever it was. I spent the whole month watching um the I everything. Osama bin Laden,
Mm-hmm.
um, just everything. And I just stood there looking at the art and like I didn't realize the amount of trauma that we took in.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that it was so overwhelming, everybody wanted to go fight. Everybody wanted to sign up for to be in this in the military services in those years. To the
Mm-hmm.
point where I wanted to sign up. Only reason I didn't was because just before I graduated high school, my brother did.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if something happens to him and then me or the other way around, then my
Yeah.
parents have to bury two sons. So it was the only reason I didn't sign up. And then I met my wife, and that distraction took me away from um and that was 6 years after 9/11. That's how impactful 9/11 was. Um, for
And,
the young people that didn't get to live through that or didn't have to live through that. It
and
was it
I
was
don't think they've had one of those. No, they had COVID, but
well, they
COVID
had
was
COVID, but COVID
they were
was
stretched over.
slow. COVID was slow. It was I don't think it was as impactful as 9/11. Watching was it like two
Well,
over 2,000 people die?
so the way that I explained it to the kids in class when they asked me about that, I was like, "Look, I was already 18 years old. I was a grown guy. I had already graduated high school. I was actually in the parking lot, Here's how old it was. This was before iPhones. Like we actually had one of those portable TVs where you actually had to go ahead and extend the little rabbit
Oh
ears,
yeah, I remember
like
those.
like barely little black and white. Yeah.
We had one
Uh,
of those, yeah.
we were heading out to the field because getting ready to go knock doors and sell coupon books because that's what I was doing at the time. And somebody was like, "Oh, hey, did you hear? They just attacked the World Trade Center." I'm like, "Again?" Because at that time I remembered 1993. Everybody forgets the 1993 World Trade Center
Oh,
bombing
the
where they
first bombing.
yeah, where they tried to do that one. So I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of thing. So they flipped on the TV and we were watching. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. And here's what got you. Here's what got you. You hear that somebody attacked the World Trade Center. They flew a plane into the World Trade Center. Okay, great. Now you're watching it on TV. One tower is smoking. You're watching this for minutes, watching the smoke billow and watching little dots falling from it.
Yeah.
And because people had to make and it's very long shot, I remember. And then all of a sudden you see a white blur coming from the back, and then bam, and you actually see it cascade through the second building. People were watching after the first building, and they saw the second building. And then after that, once we started getting more close up in shots, you actually saw people have to make the very difficult decision. They're that high up. Do I want to get burned to death? Do I want to let the building fall on me, or do I hope I bounce when I land? Like, what's the? Because by the way, you're not. And these are normal civilians. Like they just went to. They. By the way, I had went to work. I was on my way to go to the field. I was at work when I saw all of these people jumping out of the towers who were only struck because they were at work. Come on, that's big. So and to the extent where we had one guy at my first tour named, God bless him, Doherty. He was from New Jersey. He joined up the second he was old enough, and the first thing he says when we get into Iraq, this poor guy, the first thing he says when he gets into Iraq is, "I can't wait to kill. Yeah, I can't wait to kill some of those. Uses of
Yeah. No, I
slur."
remember. I remember.
Yeah,
You ain't gotta say it, really.
yeah. We took
We live
the
in a different time now.
we took his rounds away. We did not let him have any rounds because this was 2007, and we didn't want him causing an international incident. No, it's a whole. So just to tie a bow on that, the point of grassroots and what I'd encourage everybody else to do is to, and if you're, I can give you some contact information for some of the stuff I'm working with. Please put it on whatever else you can actually do. Whatever else you can put it out there so we can get into contact. Like I said, hell, if anyone's down there in Bakersfield, they can work with me on Saturday after this one, because I'm going to be down there working on for not with the Guillermo campaign, but in order to help get out the vote for the Guillermo race. Uh, we have to be able to speak our values in a positive manner. We have to have the conversation about. We have to have the conversations that we need to have, and actually, by the way, no, I was recently corrected. Somebody in chat just popped up, said COVID-19 was a test of authoritarian control by medical experts. That would be the closest. That would be the closest thing. And by the way, why a lot of these guys are actually feeling conservative, because they saw what trusting the science got them. They saw all the lies, all the fact that you couldn't say where this thing was. I remember very early on in COVID where Dr. Anthony Fauci admitted that he was lying about it, like not needing to mask up to help because he wanted to conserve gas. He wanted to conserve face masks for hospital and people like that. I remember where Dr. Bricks, because nobody remembers her, came in there and started talking about some of the other lies there. No, that's correct. I stand corrected. The fallout from COVID is one of those things that's going to really make them think. It's easier for us to talk to the younger generation and to activate the younger generation because they were stolen from. Their
Yeah.
lives and their time were stolen. Their ability to say goodbye to their grandparents in some cases was stolen. Though instead of having a conversation about socialism, from the fall of the Soviet Union and all the people that we know that fled all these communist countries that we were talking to when we were growing up, instead of talking to them about 9/11 and all this stuff, because that was life changing, uh, all of this kind of stuff. Like they discussing some of our personal experiences, but also discussing some of the stuff that their experiences with government overreach and COVID and elsewise. Unfortunately, I've seen that go a little bit far in certain other cases, but these are conversations I want to actually have. And right now, to bring this entirely full circle, guess what? We're talking about mentoring and bringing up the younger generation. We're talking about how to make California a better place. We're talking about the fact that getting out there and having the conversations. We're talking about actually how to have an impact in your own little circle to have a much bigger, wider impact. The guy who took all of that from you in COVID is running for California governor
Hmm.
right now. We need to be talking to our youth. We need to be walking them through this. Like, hey, this is why this happened. This is what this whole thing was, right? This is why we don't want this, because this is how bad it gets if we vote for it. And hopefully, my mouth to God's ears, we don't have to we actually get a little bit of an opportunity to vote in the golden ticket. Steve Fulton gets in there, Lord Ramiro gets in there, Michael Gates definitely gets in there, because don't even get me started on Ron Bonta. Like Herb Morgan gets in there. Like, look up the golden ticket. Volunteer your time with Reform California. Volunteer for, like, I mean, hell, on the COVID thing, they saw the rules for the not for me. Okay, like Gavin Newsom shuts down literally every winery in California except the one that he owns. Persuasive argument. What are you going to
Yeah.
say? Nancy Pelosi opening up central San Francisco to get a haircut because her and the mayor of Chicago were the only two people in the entire United States that were important enough to be able to get a haircut. I don't know, man. These are the conversations we should be having with the younger generation to help get in, inculcate these conservative values. They already have these values. Here's what it looks like in practice. Here's how it plays out. Here's why it's important. Here's why you know it's important. And when we're having these conversations with them, you know what the other really nice part is? They're having these conversations with all their friends. That's what they're good at. So if we're
Yeah, they are.
make the case, but make the case in a way that's not make the way in the case that's not what's most powerful for us with 9/11. And again, I had to learn this one the hard way. Make the case with what's most powerful for them, probably COVID-19. If they're talking to somebody our age, 100% 9/11, 100% 9/11. Uh, but you don't get to not have these conversations. No man is an island. We're not meant to be. We're meant to work together. We are meant to work together. So I'm sorry, I just kind of went on a rant there. Have your
No.
conversations, make every conversation have a point, be smart about it. Again, intro, qualification, presentation, negotiation, close. Those are the five things you have to do. Intro, qualification, presentation, negotiation, close. Have these conversations one more time. Intro, qualification, presentation, negotiation, close. But have as many conversations as you can, as authentically as you can, as enthusiastically as you can, and definitely keep an eyeball out there to help out those that are coming behind us. Because the best two volunteers are the younger generation. It's not guys like us. It's
Yeah.
the younger generation, and it's the retirees or the semi-retirees. These are the two. Learn from your elders, and then mentor your juniors.
Yeah.
And that's how we build a movement. That's how we take this back. Because 12 votes, man,
Exactly.
12 votes.
Tony Palmieri. I you know, for me, I think it probably started, Tony.
Sure.
I don't know how old you are, Tony, but it started with, what difference at this point does it make? That's
Oh,
when I
her,
woke up, baby. That's when I woke
Benghazi,
up. That's
Benghazi.
when I cuz I thought the same thing until she said that, and I was like, I don't like that. What are you talking about?" So, James,
Or
where do you
something along those lines. They're probably old enough to remember Biden's disastrous drawdown from Afghanistan. How in the hell are you? I'm sorry, I'm cursing now. Why are you going to pull out your security forces before you pull out your civilians? That was a preventable mistake. That was a preventable mistake. All because so you could say that
I don't think
farther
it was a mistake.
The 20, no, it was intentional. Here's why: because they wanted to be able to have the thing. They wanted to be able to say that on the 20th anniversary of September 11th, we were able to pull the last boots out of Afghanistan. Well, okay, but there's still people there. Like, that's what they wanted to do. And then you had the Abbey Gate attack, 13 Marines and a sailor. Like, okay, that one's 100% on President Biden, and I make no mince. I mince. Why? So he could make a political deadline. So he could make one political speech. He could have said just after the 20th, slightly over the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we were able to do this. No, he had to be like on this date. Just absolutely terrible. But that's sorry. That's one more example of something that they should actually recognize in the younger generation. That's a decent conversation to have.
It
So what
always
were
it always matters. It always matters. And it James, where can they find you?
primarily on Facebook. The places that I work with, I prefer to be the guy behind the scenes. So you can check out Golden State Revival. That's there. I don't remember if it's .com or .org. I already told you I'm helping out and working with the Steve Hilton campaign. Go to their website. Reform California, I'm helping out with them. Go to their website. If you are look, it's easier for you to find the races I work with than to find me specifically. If you want me directly, go to Facebook. Go to Facebook. I'm on there. I'm arguing with people all the time. Like if you're a friend of yours on Facebook, if they're a friend of yours on Facebook, then they're going to be able to find me through the friend group or through whatever. Feel free to tag me. That's easier to do. If you're annoying, I'm just not going to respond. Like, like if you come hard, I can come hard back. I don't care. It's fine. But I highly recommend if you are doing anything, or if you want to meet me in person, go to Jim Paulsgrove Facebook page and find his next meet and greet. Do that. Go to Golden
That
State.
is Paul's
Yeah.
Grove, POLSGROVE, 4, the number 4,
Hmm.
CALIF. Yeah, you can find him on all platforms.
He's pretty good
James,
about
I
that. Sorry for
appreciate
taking
you.
so
I
much
appreciate.
time.
No, you're good, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Um, I Man, I commend you. You We just had a Joe Rogan episode. So,
With a better looking host and a worse guest. Yes.
I don't know about better looking, but I got more hair. So,
Now, fine. You can have the hair. I like my beard better. I
no,
think I got the beard.
no, I meant more hair than Joe Rogan, not you.
Oh,
I've
that's
seen
fair.
your
Yes,
hair. You
that's fair.
just buzzed your hair off. I was surprised you were a totally different person when I got on. So, um, it's a good look though. It's a good look, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Um, I know right now everybody's giving you applause. I appreciate you. Everybody appreciates you and the work that you do. It's commendable work. So thank you. Hey,
Yeah, you
man, that
got my
grassroots
number.
grassroots isn't easy, brother. Grassroots
Mm.
is not easy. So
Yeah, but
keep
it's
up the
not that
fight.
hard either. It's not that hard either. It requires organization. You got to be smart about it. It's
That's
like
true.
there's levels to this game, bro. There's levels to
There,
this game.
that's true. Well, you've done it long enough that you know how to do it and you know how to do it good. So thank you. I
Yeah, reach out
appreciate
if you
you.
ever need anything, man. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you. To all the viewers, thank you for tuning in. I always close up with a prayer, so I'm just going to take off my hat in reverence. Um, when I pray, I like to pray for California. So, Heavenly Father, we come before you, and we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for allowing us to be able to share a word here on this platform and all the platforms we're streaming on, and to those that will be watching later. I ask you, Lord, to bless us, to bless our listeners, to bless California, to as we go and get into this election season for the general election. I ask you, Lord, to for the voters to give them give them the information that they need to make informed votes, give them uh, uh, give them the I don't know the right word, but the will to be able to understand that this is important. This election is probably the most important. It is the most important election to try to bring a sense of balance back to California. I ask you, Lord, to be with James. Bless his routes out there as he goes out there to do the grassroots thing. To bless him and all the ventures that he's involved in, and to help the candidates to give their constituents discernment. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank
Amen.
you so much. I appreciate you, brother. Um, this was an awesome episode. Um, yeah, the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. But goodbye, viewers.